is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, 29-year-old homemaker Kimberly White, for keying her car. Kimberly is countersuing for mental anguish.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 51 on the calendar in the matter of Lawyer versus White. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Lawyer, the defendant is your current boyfriend's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you and Chad have a child together.
Yes.
How old is the child?
She is 4. She'll be 5 on Halloween.
Where is Wonder Boy?
At home.
Why isn't he here?
Didn't
want to come.
Right.
It is your claim, Miss Lawyer, that the defendant keyed your car, causing extensive damage.
Yes.
It is your claim on your countersuit that the plaintiff keyed your car and, in addition, forced you to confess to keying her car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's get to your claim first. Did you witness the defendant keying your car?
No, I did not.
So what proof do you have that she keyed your car?
I have an audio tape that she confessed on.
You have a tape of her confessing?
Right.
I'll hear it.
You will admit to me that you keyed my car, nothing will happen. I'm just going to have to go get this fixed myself. But I'm telling you, if you admit it, don't ever show your face to me again. You already admitted it. Don't ever show your face to me again.
I can't.
I'm going to put a hand on you. I'm going to press charges on you. Nothing. Just admit it, because you've already admitted it once. Just say okay. Okay. Okay, what? I did it. Why? Because what? My car is keyed. And who did it? I don't know. Exactly. And you think it was me because I'm your baby's daddy's girlfriend, and I can take you on there right now and show you. My car is keyed. But did she do it? She's telling you she did not do it. Chad told me that you admitted to him on the phone that you did it because I did that to your car. I'll go over there and show you, Candy. And that doesn't prove that she does it. Exactly. She did. I did not do it. I vow on my grandmother's grave that I will never, ever key anybody's car. Okay, well, you was over here the other night, Candy. How many people live in these apartments? Did you see it when you actually walked out to the car, or did you see it the next day? I know when I come over here, my car was not keyed. And you was over here that night. That doesn't mean I did it. You was over here that night. Doesn't mean I did it. And what happened here that night? I was very off at Chad. Yes, you was. And me too, wasn't you? I hate your guts. I know you do. But I would not do that to your car. Well, my car was keyed, and I can take you over there right now and show you my car. I don't deny that your car is keyed. The point is, you didn't have proof that I did it, which I surely did not. And the fact is that my car is ugly now. Oh, my car is too. Why would she waste her time on somebody she hates? Well, yeah. Why would I waste my time on you? So that the same can happen to my car? No. I know how it feels to get my car keyed. This is the second time a brand new car of mine has been terrorized. That's not Chad's car, that's her car. That is my car. You do not take out your animosity towards Chad on me, ever. And when you get out of this car, we will go look at your car for the simple fact that I don't give a But when you go home, I want you to think about, no, leave that light on. When you go home, I want you to think about that you did to my car. When did you do it? Today. Where? I was at my house today. And he saw you do it? No, he didn't see me do it. What did he do at your house today? Today, he came over to my house. And you No, we don't. Then why was there a condom in the trash can? That was because somebody else was over there the other night. What did Chad go over there for today? Chad come over there today. Did you lure him over there so that
No, I did not.
My car?
No.
It was just the perfect opportunity
No,
for you to...
Chad come over there today.
For what?
I didn't ask him to come over there.
Okay.
He come over there on his own.
And it was the perfect opportunity for you to key my car.
No. Chad came over there, and
to your standard. What was he doing at your house today?
He came over there today because he wanted to come over there.
And do what?
He wanted to come over there.
And he fell asleep, and you went out to my car and you keyed it?
I went out there and I got my CDs out of your car.
Today?
Yes.
And
He stole my CDs.
And you stole my recording tape out of this recorder the other day, didn't you? Or not the other day, it was about a month ago.
Yeah, I did.
So should I charge you with theft also?
If you want to. And I didn't want
Don't ever come in my house and take anything ever again.
I won't.
Don't ever come to my house, period. Don't ever come and see. Don't even call. Don't even page Chad. If he wants to see Kayla, he can come and see her with me. With me. He will never go to your house ever again. He will never be in my car alone ever again. I can't trust him, just like I don't trust you. I trust my mother and my family. That's the only people I can trust.
You are with Chad, okay? I'm trying to get along with you and Chad.
I'm trying to get along. I fed your tonight. I fed your tonight, and you did that to me today.
I know that.
I hope you throw up. I wish I would have poisoned my food. I wish I would have, just so you would die. Roll over and die. That's how bad I hate you right now.
I'm sure you do hate me. But you know what? I hate you too. Because you do things to my child.
Oh, I've never touched her.
You made my child sleep on the floor.
On a pallet.
Because you don't want her in the bed with her daddy.
Oh, you think that's right for a 4-year-old little girl?
Yes, it is.
To sleep with her daddy that doesn't ever sleep with clothes on? Huh.
Does
Yeah.
anything else on this tape have to do with the keying? Well, then turn it off. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, I would never allow your daughter to sleep over at the plaintiff's home again. Do you understand?
I haven't.
Because a child should not be exposed to the kind of hostility that the plaintiff feels towards you that will rub off on your daughter, and she's an innocent.
Yes, and
You
she's had
understand?
problems too because
You understand?
of it.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And they held a knife to me. I was terrified for my life.
She stole this tape out of the car because she didn't want Candy to have evidence.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Loya is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Kimberly White, for keying her car.
Let's make this as painless as possible. Without getting into your counterclaim of how this confession was coerced, did you key her car? I'm going to give you an opportunity to just think about the answer before, because you don't want to fall into my mouth if you don't have to. Did you key her car?
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
You had lent him your car?
He dropped me off at work and I guess went to her house straight from dropping me off.
When did you see that the car was keyed?
He picked me up from work and I didn't notice it, but we stopped to pick up an application for him. And when he came back to the car, he acted surprised and said, "Oh my God, your car's been keyed." So I got out and looked, and the entire car was keyed.
Now, you had your car keyed.
Yes.
When?
Her and Chad had came over to my girlfriend's house where I was at, and they came upstairs. And Chad wanted to stay and visit me and Kayla, and Candy got mad. And she went downstairs and waited on him for a while. And he stayed up there. Well, she got mad, and she came back up there and got him and told him, "Chad, you come on. You're not going to stay over here no more. Come on." And Chad said, "Okay, Kim, I don't want no problems here at your friend's house. I'm going to go ahead and go, and I'll see Kayla tomorrow." I said, "Okay." And they left. I stayed there a couple of hours with my friend. Then after that, I got ready to leave. When I got ready to leave, I went downstairs, and I had to walk in front of my car. I noticed the whole hood of my car was scratched.
And it hadn't been scratched when you left it there?
No, it hadn't.
So now I have 2 keyed cars and no witnesses.
Yeah, but what she was talking about at her friend's house, we didn't actually go over there. We were driving down the highway, and she was coming back from the dope house in Dallas. And my boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, and...
The ex-boyfriend is Chad?
Yeah.
So now he's an ex-boyfriend of yours, too?
Well, he's been an ex-boyfriend.
For a while.
Why?
Since when?
For 4 months.
Okay. Tell me about this confession that I just heard.
Okay, Candy and her sister came over. They knocked on the door. Candy was as nice as could be. The sister was hiding down the stairs. She said, Kim, can I talk to you? Well, we used to talk about Kayla, my daughter, so I thought maybe she wanted to talk about that. She didn't want her coming over no more or something. So I said, okay. Well, we went downstairs, and here pops out her sister. Well, so I stand there, and I look at them, and I was like, what is it? And she said, well, can we talk? And it was cold. So I said, well, let's go down and get in my car. Well, once I got down there, I noticed I didn't have my keys. And she says, well, we can sit in my sister's car. It's warm. We just got here. So I said, okay. We got in the car. It was a two-door sports car. I had got in the back seat. They got in the front seat. As soon as we got in the car, they locked the doors. The tape was not fully played, or something's been tampered with, because I was begging them to open the doors. Please let me out. I was scared for my life. Then you can hear them. They're hollering at me, telling me, you need to go on and say you did it. Well, before the tape was even played, they told me, you need to say you did it. You know that whenever Chad was over there that day, you got up and you went down there and you keyed my car. And they held a knife to me. I was terrified for my life. So then...
How did they hold it? Who held a knife to you?
The sister had the knife, and Candy held me down in the back seat.
All I want to know is, just listen to my question. Was there a knife in your car?
No. No.
Do you feel, Miss Lawyer, that your presence and your sister's presence in the car locked was intimidating with or without a knife?
It was not locked, but no, I didn't have a knife, and I felt no reason to. And about...
I asked you whether you felt as if it was intimidating.
No.
Oh, no? The threats were being made by you two, not by her. Right?
Yeah. That's, well, there's a reason for that.
What's the reason?
She was high. She didn't know...
Then why did you take her in the car?
Because I wanted her to confess on tape that she did that to my car.
You can't do that. You can't do that. That's outrageous. You know what that is? Kidnapping.
Well, the doors weren't locked.
Kidnapping.
Yes, they was.
No, they weren't.
Whether they were locked or not, if it's a two-door car and she was sitting in the back, she could not get out of the car unless one of you, either you or your sister, got out of the car first to let her out. So it doesn't make any difference whether the doors were locked or unlocked. She was a virtual prisoner in that car. That, Miss Lawyer, is called kidnapping. Do you understand?
Yes.
What?
Is it kidnapping when she says she will get in the car?
I'm sorry. Oh, here we go.
She agreed to get in the car, and
Yes, she agreed
so
to get
how
in
is
the
that
car.
kidnapping?
Tell me why she agreed to get into the car. Tell me what you said to her.
It was cold outside.
No, tell me what you said to her.
Do you want to go talk in the car so we can sit in the car because it's warm?
Fine. And what was your intention when you went over there?
To get her to confess on the videotape.
Did you tell her that?
She knew that.
Did you tell her that?
No, ma'am.
Do you believe that if you had told her that before she got into the car, she would have gotten into the car?
No, ma'am.
Of course not. So you lured her into the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now sit down.
Could I say something about a confession?
Sure.
2 days after this happened, Kim paged Candy at work. So Candy called me, and I called her on three-way. And so I asked her, why did you key Candy's car? And I said, why did you key my car? Because car's in my name. She said, I didn't know it was your car.
You have that conversation with her?
No.
Yes, you did.
I did page Candy because
What'd you page her for?
to talk to her about the car, because she went over to my mother's house.
So what'd you call her for?
I just wanted to talk to her about it and tell
What
her.
did you want to tell
I
her?
wanted to tell her to stay away from my mother's house and don't go back over there with the tape. If you want to go to the police, go to the police. That's why I called her with that recorder and told my mother, if you will give me $1,700, I will not take this to the police. And my mother said, I will not do it.
Did you go over
She stole this tape out of the car because she didn't want Candy to have evidence.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Get real. Will you please?
I know that they're not living together anymore.
I don't care whether they're
because she
living
is a
together
mom.
or not. That doesn't mean they're not sleeping together if they're not living together, right? Play in the mud, you get dirty. Understand?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Loya claims her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Kimberly White, keyed her car. Kimberly is countersuing for mental anguish.
So Chad is no longer in your life, is that right? Perfect.
I just talked to Chad the other day. He told me they're still together.
Well, friends. They are not
Friends?
living together. Well, not friends, but
They're more than
acquaintances.
friends. And since all that's happened, I've had to take my daughter to counseling. I've had to see a psychiatrist.
you have a
I
drug
have a
problem?
letter. No, I don't.
Did you?
No, I did not.
You work?
No, I'm not working right now.
Why not?
Because I'm seeing a psychiatrist. I cannot work. They terrified me. I'm scared to go out of my house. I have a letter here from my doctor.
Let me see the letter from your doctor.
Well, it's kind of funny that I picked her up on Christmas Day, and you had no problem doing that. And I picked her up several Saturdays before to
Just
take
a
her to
minute.
visit Chad.
Just a second. You picked her up Christmas Day of 1999?
Yes, and I picked
Just
her.
a second. To go
That
where?
is not true. She hasn't
Go
took
where?
me to see Chad.
To go
Not you,
quiet.
Kayla.
We had the agreement Candy would come pick Kayla up so Chad could see Kayla and Candy would bring her back.
Does your doctor have you on any medication?
Yes, he does.
What kind of medication?
I am taking Selexia, and I take a sleeping pill because I cannot sleep because I'm always terrified thinking that they're over there watching me at my house or something.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm not satisfied that this confession that I've heard on that tape was taken under the circumstances that it is reliable. You had somebody who was coerced into a car, who was threatened, held in the car against her will, and I am not accepting that confession as proof that she keyed your car, so your complaint is dismissed. With regard to your car being keyed, that's dismissed. You have no proof. Miss Lawyer, I'm not giving you a dime for your damages to your car. If what you and your mother tell me is true and accurate, that this person still is part of your life, you deserve whatever you get. You deserve whatever comes to you. You will be in for nothing but heartache, and you're a young woman, but that's entirely up to you. You know, you play in the mud, you get dirty. You understand? Do you understand? Okay. So when you say to me they're just friends, no, they're just acquaintances,
Well,
get real. Will you please?
I know that they're not living together anymore.
I don't care whether they're
because she
living
lives at
together
home.
or not. That doesn't mean they're not sleeping together if they're not living together, right? She'll wind up one day on that side of the fence. You have a primary responsibility, Miss White. Your primary responsibility is to take care of your daughter. You pick this guy to father your child. You are in all probability stuck with him at least for the foreseeable future. He's going to be in your life. I strongly suggest that you don't take that out on anybody else. He's not worth it. And the worm isn't even here. Your cases are dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a nurse. Frishta Grande is suing the father of her child, 35-year-old filmmaker Mark Mattson, for stealing the baby's belongings and her clothes.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 83 in the matter of Grande versus Mattson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Grande, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time, and you have a child together.
Right.
And it is your claim that when you separated, Mr. Mattson kept some property that belonged to you and your daughter.
Right.
When did you commence living with Mr. Mattson?
We were apart my whole pregnancy, 3 days before my daughter was born. She was born on the 12th. I moved back in with him.
The 12th of what?
The 12th of February was the day my daughter was born. 3 days prior to that is when I moved in.
12th of February?
Yeah.
Okay, so you moved back in a week before.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did that last?
It lasted 2 months.
And what happened?
Well, he was driving me to work. I get in the car. I notice on the dashboard of his car my child's sock. We used to always keep it in there because we thought it was cute to just have a little, baby sock on the dashboard. This particular day, I found marijuana on the sock, and I got very, very angry, and I said, "Is this the kind of father you want to be?" And he had told me over 5 times since my daughter was born, that he was no longer going to use drugs, but that was not the case.
Okay.
So the fight was over that.
And what happened?
He got all mad at me, told me I don't help out around the house, I don't do anything. He ended up calling the police, asking them to watch and escort me out of the house. I had less than 20 minutes to pack my things, and basically everything I was trying to gather up I couldn't even do. I was holding my baby, crying and begging, please don't do this. I had less than 20 minutes. I left.
Okay. And then what happened?
I moved to a friend's house, and I came back like probably 2.5, 3 weeks later to retrieve my belongings, and I noticed.
Where was the baby during that time?
And the baby was with me.
Okay, and you came back to get your property. Had you made an arrangement with him to get your property?
Yes. He said, come and get your things, and I came, and then I noticed everything was gone. All of the stuff that I had laid out, he didn't pack. He told me he would pack my property and my daughter's.
What property?
Clothes, baby bottles.
Whose clothes?
My clothes and my daughter's clothes, everything, all my grooming products. I had to leave with not even my toothbrush because I had less than 20. I left with the clothes on my back.
I would always take my toothbrush if I had 20 minutes. So you must have taken something in 20 minutes. What did you?
I left with my child's diaper bag and clothes for her and a stroller. I didn't even have a car.
So you're talking about personal effects and your daughter's clothes.
And mine.
Well, what clothes of yours? I mean, this is not a very easy thing to do. You can't speculate as to what clothes there are. You say clothes. What clothes?
He stole my sexy clothes probably because he doesn't want me to have them. I had this gown that was the $800 gown. I no longer have that. He stole CDs of mine and my labor and delivery tape, my ultrasound video, things to me that are priceless, that the value of money cannot replace.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Madsen.
How you doing today?
Don't ask me questions. I ask questions. What happened?
We had a disagreement. It wasn't over what she's saying, but she's got a really volatile...
Just what was it over?
It was about her working.
Well, tell me about it.
She doesn't like to.
And?
She just gets really mad when she has to go do something that pertains to work. And I'd given her a ride to work. She was late. The guy told her to go home because she wore the wrong shoes. After I'd already left, she called me and told me to come back and pick her up. And she was just out of her mind then.
So this argument happened on your way. After you had dropped her off, she called you to come back and pick her up. Does that sound familiar to you?
No, I do work.
Just a second.
Okay.
The day of this incident, who were you working for?
I worked for this promotional company called...
Go ahead, Mr. Madsen.
Well, on my first way, I'd like to add, on my first way out after I dropped her off, she'd said, I hope you get in a car crash and die. But...
Well, was that over the marijuana cigarettes?
It was about another fight.
Okay. But did she find the remnants of drugs in the car?
No, she did not.
All right.
And I have a clean drug test here to prove everything.
Okay. What prompted you to take a drug test?
Because she alleged that in our child custody case. So the second she did that, I went and took a test.
Did you take a hair follicle test or a urine test?
A urine and blood.
Okay.
The issue over her clothes, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Is we together put all of her clothes in this trailer that was on the side of my house, and I gave her permission to retrieve them out of there. I have pictures of her clothes boxed. I have her things hanging up in the trailer. I have pictures of all of her things in boxes that she helped put in there, and I helped her load them into a minivan when she came over to retrieve them.
Did you take those things?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So you took the things that he had put in boxes. Now, the things that you're talking about here, my baby's first footprints, the birth certificate, etc. What's the etc.?
All of her clothes.
Okay. Who purchased the clothes?
The clothes, I was the #1 person at the
purchased?
church, my friends, and myself.
Where did you purchase the clothes from if you told me you weren't working?
This was during my pregnancy.
Where were you working during your pregnancy?
I worked at in Associates. It's a promotional company.
Your Honor, the day I loaded her van for her, I videotaped that, and she didn't inventory any of the boxes. And she went directly to the police station from there, just claiming that I had stolen everything, and filed this report from there.
Okay.
And also there was a 9-dresser drawer that we had dedicated just to the baby things. From that, I kept 2 drawers worth of clothes, and I also have partial custody of the child, and I need some clothes for the child.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, sir. You should absolutely have some of the baby's things.
And to prove her character, here's a ransom note for the child, proving, says, number 1, I want $10,000 before we get back together. Type of person she is. I had to file a restraining order because I'd given her $1,200 over the weekend to fix her car to get the baby around while we were not together, and she was living with somebody else.
Let me see the papers.
On
please.
Monday, she called me to tell me she was taking the baby. She got in a fight with her next guy, and she was going to take the baby to Nebraska. So I filed the restraining order to keep the baby here in the States.
And I assume that that was granted, that she is
Yes, it
prohibited
is. Yes.
from removing the child from the jurisdiction without
Yes.
your consent. What?
Actually, that's not what happened. He kidnapped my child from me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This person lives in a $500,000 home.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really.
And later today,
The initial problem was created by you. You personally, not her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Frishta Grande claims the father of her child, Mark Matson, stole her baby's belongings and her clothes.
How can he kidnap his child?
Well, what happened was I told him, if you don't help me find a home after you just left me, I have no choice but to move to Nebraska with my family, where they're going to support me. He just kicked me out the week before. Of course, I didn't trust him. I asked him to watch my child for me while I went to a computer class and looked for an apartment. When I came to pick her up, that's when he petitioned for the restraining order and everything. He had her for 4 days. I have right here on his own from a letter from my attorneys stating that he returned my daughter to me. This is when she's 2 months.
So what? You both parents, you each have equal right to custody until the court says otherwise. He can't kidnap his own child.
He was gone.
Just as you can't kidnap, because you each claim that the other... Shh, I'm speaking. He can't kidnap his own child, nor can you kidnap your own child unless there is a prior custody order.
Your Honor, and as far as this case is over, the things that she's missing, if you wanted to call the next guy who lives at the beach that she ran off with, he has a garage full of things. He's called me. He and I have become friends since because she ousted herself from his house. He and I have become friends since then, and
What's
I'm
his
supposed
name?
to...
From the defendant's house, did you move into Mr. house?
Yes, I stayed 1 week.
He's
Do
requesting...
you have anything at Mr. house?
Yeah, I have baby furniture, and I'm moving into my apartment tomorrow.
Where did you get the baby furniture from?
I got it for $100 at a garage sale.
Okay.
This is a list of receipts that he made a copy of everything he purchased for our daughter. And the total money that he has spent on his daughter is $418. When this person lives in a $500,000 home, has 3 companies.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really. He
If
always
he's
has
living in a
people over.
just a second.
No.
If he's living in a $500,000 home, madam, it must be either a very luxurious 2-room $500,000 home, or else there was room for the baby's furniture that you bought that is at Mr. house.
He refused to turn the office into a nursery. He wouldn't make room for the baby's room.
Do you have the baby's birth certificate?
No, I do not have that with me.
Okay. Do you have the baby's first footprints?
Yes, I have.
You do. So make a copy of them.
I will.
Make a copy of them. You're as
No,
entitled to that
that's
as
not a
she
problem.
is. What other things does he have that are irreplaceable?
My ultrasound video,
Do
my
you have
labor and delivery.
do you have an ultrasound video?
I have found that since then. I've never
Wonderful.
watched it. I don't need it. She can have it. No
Perfect.
problem.
What else?
The labor and delivery video.
The one that I shot on my camera, I will make her a copy of.
Will you do that?
That's no problem.
Will you do that within the
It's
next
our
couple of
child.
days?
I have no problem with
Would
our...
you do that within the next couple of days? That's easy. Make her a
Yes, ma'am.
copy. What else do you want, Miss Grande?
I would like my ring back. There's also this ring that an old boyfriend of mine gave to me.
Yes.
Sapphires and diamonds. I've
How do you
had
know
it
he
for
has
4
it?
years.
Do you know where that ring is?
Your Honor, I've never seen such a ring. And
Fine.
she's
I haven't.
left...
This is the first time I'm hearing about a ring. What's next?
That's it.
Great. Look how lovely this is. We've accomplished making you into an almost happy family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
God. said that if I don't give her $10,000, I'll never be a part of the baby's life.
This is her shirt that when she was born, the hospital gave to me. He washed it like it was a fabric softener or something. I mean, this is something I was going to have framed from my daughter to keep forever.
I don't know if you heard the way she talks, but it's our baby, and she keeps saying my baby, so, you know, everything should be shared.
And now the next case.
All parties on Valancourt versus O'Reilly. Step forward, please.
23-year-old preschool teacher Lisa Valancourt is suing 22-year-old bar manager Brendan O'Reilly for her German Shepherd's broken teeth.
Miss Valancourt, this is your dog, I assume.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you dropped your dog off at a friend's house for your dog to play with her dog.
Yes.
And the defendant came in and decided to take both dogs for a walk, correct?
Take them to the dog park.
Or the dog park. Had anyone asked you to take her dog to the dog park?
No, ma'am.
What happened with her dog?
Well, there's a gentleman playing with the tennis racket and the tennis ball that the dog park supplies. He threw the tennis ball up to hit it, and as he threw it and swung, Jack jumped for the ball, so the tennis racket and Jack met the ball at the same time.
So this gentleman hit the dog in
the mouth.
Snout.
Yes, ma'am.
With the tennis racket. Well, what happened to the dog after he was hit?
Jack ran over, laid down, and whimpered a little bit. I ran over to Jack, saw what had happened, talked to the gentleman for a minute, and
What do you
then
mean you
left.
talked to him for a minute?
I said that it was unfortunate that it happened, and asked him his name, and that's about it, and I left.
Did you see the dog's mouth?
Yes, ma'am.
The dog was injured?
Yes, it was.
So this lawsuit is about, pay attention, the medical bills that you
Yes.
incurred for the dog.
Yes.
Now, Mr. O'Reilly, you asked the gentleman his name. Did you ask him where he lived?
No, ma'am.
Didn't you feel as if he was responsible for the injury to the dog?
I did, but many times I had hit tennis balls to park myself, and I thought that if a dog had jumped while I was swinging the racket and hit it, that it would simply be an accident. Because those things happen.
And is that what you told the plaintiff when she told you she wanted you to pay the bills?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He said, you better get a lawyer then, because I'm not going to hand you the money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You treated this all very cavalierly.
Okay, apparently you've never been to a dog park. They run
No,
around,
I've
they
been
jump
to a
up.
dog park, sir. I have had dogs all my life, and I know exactly what it's like.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Valancourt claims former friend Brendan O'Reilly is responsible for her German Shepherd's broken teeth.
How much were your vet bills for Jack?
The total was $1,921, and they are currently broken again.
What did they have to do to his, it was his front teeth that
His
were broken?
two big canine teeth. He does bite work. He's a Schutzhund dog, which is like police dog training, and I train him. That's what I bought him for. And they've had to do 2 root canals, and they recapped him or bonded him. It's like a special thing that the doctor does. And one of them broke. He doesn't like his muzzle. And one of them just actually broke 2 weeks ago when we were doing bite work.
Okay, but right now your vet bills is what
Are
you said was
$1,921.
Okay.
Originally I was asked to pay $900.
Well, it got worse. I assume you have the bills.
I have all of them, yes.
Let me
Can I
see
bring
them,
them up?
please.
Stay right there, man.
They're all circled, the totals.
Now, the initial problem was created by you because you, without anyone asking you to, took her dog.
I'd have to disagree.
Who asked you to take
The
her dog
initial
out?
problem was with her leaving the dog at my house.
No. No. You had other options. If she left the dog at your house, were you living there with your girlfriend at the time?
I was living there.
Okay, so you were living there with your girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay. You weren't complaining that the dog was there because then you could have made a phone call and said, get your dog out of my house. You decided to take her dog out along, I assume, with the other dog that was there.
Yeah.
So you made that decision unilaterally. So between the two of you, if the dog is injured, let's say the dog is injured by, you know, a flying meteor, not by somebody else's negligence, you would be responsible because you placed the dog in a position of being in that particular place and time.
Okay, what if I wasn't there when the dog was left there? I had no say in it.
It doesn't make any difference, Mr. O'Reilly. Your recourse is not to take the dog to the park. Your recourse is to pick up the phone and call her and say, come get your dog. I don't want it here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What I don't understand even further, Mr. O'Reilly, is this man was negligent. If you're going to use a tennis racket to hit balls to a dog, then you have to make sure that the field is clear so that you're not going to hit either another person or a dog. That's your responsibility if you're using a tennis racket, so that you cavalierly walk up to him and say, yeah, you know, it happens.
Okay, apparently you've never been to a dog park. They run
No,
around,
I've
they
been
jump
to a dog
up.
park, sir. I have had dogs all my life, and I know exactly what it's like. But if somebody used a tennis racket, and in using a tennis racket wasn't careful enough so that my dog was injured, I would say not only get his name, but get his address and find out if he had homeowner's insurance that may cover the problem, if there were vet bills. You treated this all very cavalierly. Bottom line, somebody is out $1,921. And if you had the name of the person and the address of the person for her to proceed against,
They already have it.
where did she get the name and address of the person?
As far as I know, her sister tracked the person down and got the name and address and talked to the gentleman.
Why didn't you?
I didn't, simply because if I was in his shoes, I would feel the same. I wouldn't want to be held responsible.
I suggest that since you didn't bother to track down this gentleman initially, that you track him down now, because you have a lawsuit against him for $1,921. You personally, not her. You go get the money from him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,921. That's all.
All these are excused. You may step out.
Come on, Jack.
Machinist Daniel McMahon is suing his former live-in girlfriend, 34-year-old store manager Michelle McCartney, for half the deposit on an apartment and the return of his furniture. Michelle is countersuing for Daniel's share of their living expenses.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 206 on the calendar in the matter of McMahon versus McCarthy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
Mr. McMahon, according to the complaint that I read, you and the defendant leased an apartment to live together. When you moved into the apartment, you put down half the security deposit. You also purchased some old furniture together. When you separated, you did not receive your security deposit back, nor the value of half the furniture that you purchased. That's what you want.
That's
right?
correct, Your Honor.
The defendant says this is pretty much a joke because you really owe her money and she has a counterclaim.
Mm-hmm.
When did you lease this apartment?
I believe it was in July of '98, June or July.
And how long did you live together?
On and off for probably a year and a half.
When did you finally separate?
About probably 5 months ago, permanently.
And how long did you actually live in the apartment?
I actually lived in the apartment full-time for approximately 2 months before I got thrown out the first time.
And then you moved back?
And then I moved back.
Well, so let's have all the months together that you actually lived there.
Probably 4 months straight, on and off for probably a year and a half.
And how much was your security deposit that you put down?
$150.
Now, tell me about this furniture that you purchased together.
First, we bought a washer and dryer. I paid $75. She paid $75.
Okay. What's next?
The next is the furniture, which her aunt was selling, and again, we each paid $75 for the
we
furniture.
did not.
You'll have your
That's
chance.
wrong, Your
You'll have
Honor.
your chance. So that is $275 and $150, $425. How did you pay your half of the rent, which comes to her counterclaim?
With check. With a check.
With checks?
I wrote my checks out to her.
Let me see them.
I don't have them. She packed all my stuff up.
He packed it all himself.
Mr. McMahon.
That's not true.
See, the problem is, she says that you lived together a total of 6 months. You say 4 months. The defendant says that you only paid rent for 2 of those months.
That is correct. But the only reason I paid for the first 2 months because I lived there full time. She threw me out. I had to go move into a whole nother place. And we were broken up. We started seeing each other again, and I had a separate residence.
But then you moved back in, even according to you.
Right, okay.
Sir, listen to me. Then you moved back in, at least according to you, for another 2 months on an apartment where you had a lease.
Right.
And you did not pay rent for those 2 months.
Yes, I did.
No, he didn't.
No, you just told me you didn't pay rent for those 2 months. You said you only paid rent for 2 months.
I wasn't living there full time. I was only spending 2 nights out of the week there. I already moved out into a whole nother place.
No, Mr. McMahon, now you're making that up as you're going
I am
along. You
not,
just said
Your
to
Honor.
me, you
Oh, I'm
said to
nervous.
me a moment ago, of the year and a half that you were together, you lived there 4 months, but you only paid rent for 2 months out of the 4.
No, while I was there, if I stayed there for a full month, I would pay for half of that month. If I only spent
That's
a
not
couple...
what you just told me.
Well, excuse me, Your Honor. I'm a little confused. It was...
Well, let's not get confused, sir.
But I went and got a separate residence, and then we started dating again. I would spend the weekend over there and then go back during the week to my own residence.
He never got his own residence until after the second time I threw him out. He lived with his father after the first time.
Okay, let's talk about the expenses that you say he owes you, Miss McCarthy. Let me hear.
Well, Your Honor, most of what he has said was correct. He was there May and June. I found he was cheating on me and I threw him out. We reconciled and he moved back in October, and he was there October, November, and December, and it was shortly after Christmas, 1998, or maybe even after the first of the year, where I threw him out for the second time. He was coming up with all these excuses why he couldn't help me out with the rent, and never paid anything. The day I threw him out, I went to do some laundry, and he had a bad habit of keeping his, papers in his pants. I would check his pockets for papers, and I found a receipt for some car stereo equipment that he purchased the day before. And that's when all heck broke loose, and I threw him out.
Why?
Because he kept claiming that he had no money to help me out. You know, he was getting speeding tickets, he was paying for the speeding tickets, he bought $1,000 rims for this Mustang that he owned. The heat would be up to 80 degrees, and he wasn't even there.
All right, so now, I got it.
I was on the lease, though. I'm entitled to turn my own heat up.
Just a second.
But he wasn't paying for it.
I got it. I understand the whole scenario. Now, my next question to both of you is clearly, according to you, October, November, and December of 1998. 98 is when you, in December is when you threw him out ultimately?
Yeah, it was a little after Christmas, maybe even after the first of the year.
Okay, and did he ever move back in?
No.
Why haven't you sued him for the amounts that you claim he owes you?
Well, initially, Your Honor, we got back together around Valentine's Day in 1999.
So you were back together?
Yes, we did. We never moved. He never moved back in. I still live there today.
But in February of 1999, you sort of got back together. How?
He invited me to dinner, bought me a couple dozen roses, and schmoozed his way back in like he always did.
All right. And how long did that schmoozing last?
On and off for about a year. We had a verbal agreement in between all this because he was upset about the furniture. He threatened to cut it up if he had to in order for him to get his half of it. And once we did get back together, we made a verbal agreement that I was to keep the furniture in my apartment because he hadn't helped me for those 3 months. And that was well and good for us.
Made that agreement.
And all of a sudden I get this lawsuit, and so I said, well, the heck with it. I'm going to just get my money that he owes me.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear. So you were prepared to say, forget it,
yes, I was.
On. Now, Mr. McMahon, I'm going to ask you the same question, sir. What took you so long to file this lawsuit?
We got engaged.
Yes.
She wanted me to move back in. I said, no, not until some issues are resolved.
And when did that engagement terminate?
On my birthday.
What date?
January 30th. I wasn't just going to jump into a lawsuit until I had some time to deal with what I was
You should have jumped into the lawsuit a year and a half ago.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're absolutely right. If you believe that she honestly owed you this money, half of a washer and dryer for $75 and a lot of furniture for $75.
It's not the money. It's got nothing to do with the money.
So what does it have to do with it?
Your Honor, we had a 3-bedroom apartment. Out of all 3, each bedroom had a closet. I had a quarter of one closet in the master bedroom.
So does my husband.
And I had two,
let me tell you, he's a happy man.
And I had 2 drawers. I had 2 drawers. I couldn't even put my clothes in there.
He has 2 drawers. Men are lucky if they have a quarter of a closet. They have 1 drawer.
And another thing.
Women need more drawers.
And another thing.
And more closet space.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She took over the whole apartment.
That's what ladies do. They make a nest.
What about me?
My husband knows he can decorate anything in his quarter of the closet.
I didn't get nothing.
Period.
And later today,
he shove-kicked me to my growing area, and I didn't do anything.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daniel McMahon says ex-girlfriend Michelle McCartney won't return his furniture or his share of the deposit on their apartment.
Have you ever been married?
No.
That's a very good lesson I'm going to teach you. Don't expect more than a quarter of a closet. Right? If you expect more, never get married.
Okay, and another thing, January 30th, which was my birthday, which was one of the last big
more than
fights.
a quarter of a closet?
A quarter of a closet's ridiculous.
I've been married for 13 years.
Yeah.
I don't even have a quarter of a closet.
The whole apartment had her family all over the wall. I couldn't put I had no entity in there at all.
You mean you couldn't have a picture of your mother or your grandmother up?
The walls were full. I couldn't do nothing.
Mr. McMahon.
I'm serious. She took over the whole apartment.
Mr. McMahon.
I had no rights and nothing.
That's what ladies do. They make a nest.
We need.
Let
There
me
should be a
explain
little
something
bit
to
of
you.
compromise.
Let me
though,
explain
and there was
something to you.
not.
That's what happens. They make a nest, right?
What about me?
My husband knows he can decorate anything in his quarter of the closet.
I didn't get
Period.
I had to step
Don't move
over.
a lamp.
I had to
Don't
step
move a
over shoes
picture.
to get to my quarter of the closet.
Get over
Her
it.
shoes.
Listen to me. Your lawsuit, Mr. McMahon, is nonsense. And so is your counterclaim. Nonsense. 2.5 years ago, you started a relationship. You moved into an apartment together. It didn't work out. Your entire investment was at most $425, which includes $150 for some old furniture and an old washer and dryer. How many times did you use the washer and dryer? I want you to think very carefully. How many times did you take clothes, like sheets and towels, from the bathroom and from the beds, take them, put them in the washing machine, wait till it was finished, take it out, put it in the dryer, and fold it up? How many times did you do that?
Plenty of times. If I wasn't being thrown out that week, I was doing laundry. Without
If you
a doubt.
weren't being thrown, you were doing laundry?
Yeah.
Is that
I
right?
used to do her work
Is that
clothes
right?
for
He
her.
was doing,
Everything
he was
else.
doing the laundry?
Some.
He was doing the
Few and far between. I was mostly doing all of our laundry. But yes, it was used for his clothes, which he had.
I didn't ask you what was used for his clothes. I'm talking about sheets and towels and stripping the beds and.
Oh, I did all that. I could hardly even get him to make the bed.
Listen,
Never mind
listen to
strip
me.
it.
I'm talking about stripping the beds and putting the sheets in and putting the sheets back on the bed. Who did that?
I did all that.
You did that?
Yeah.
Well, you were honest about the other thing. He did do his own work clothes. Who did the cleaning in the apartment?
I did everything. I did everything, Your Honor.
Like what? I mean, who scrubbed the bathroom floor? Who scrubbed the
did.
kitchen floor?
I did. I wouldn't even let him do the dishes because he would do them in a half-mannered way and they would be all greasy, so I'd have to redo them anyway. That was his lame excuse for not being able to do anything because he didn't know how.
It's called learned helplessness. You do it wrong so nobody asks you to do it again.
That's not
Mr.
true at
McMahon, is it accurate that the housework was done by the defendant?
You know what? I didn't spend enough time in that
Oh, my
apartment to
goodness.
clean anything. If you want to be, if you want the real
No,
deal.
you spent some time there, sir. According to you, you spent a couple of months there straight, and in addition to the couple of months there straight, 2 or 3 days a week when you were going to your own place. So you were there long enough to dirty the kitchen, dirty the bathroom, dirty the tub, dirty all those things.
If I dirtied something, I cleaned it.
That's it.
I'm not
I've
gonna-
heard that before. Mr. McMahon, your lawsuit is nonsense, and so is your counterclaim. They're both dismissed. Get over it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
One of us was obligated to continue paying that lease, and I did, and I have been paying it ever since. He paid 2 months, and he was on a lease for a
He
year.
wanted me
so.
to pay it while I was living in.
Oh well.
I didn't get treated fair in the relationship from Jump Street, and you know, I got taken advantage of.
And now the next case.
All parties on Sias versus Graham. Step forward, please.
55-year-old Asian arts instructor Ted Sias is suing 19-year-old carpet installer William Graham for assaulting him while riding his bike.
According to your complaint, Mr. Sias, you were riding your bike to work. What kind of work do you do?
I teach internal health arts in Huntington Beach.
In a school?
Yes, ma'am.
And a car that was being driven by one of these two young men
Mr. Graham.
somehow passed by you, and he shouted something out the window, which made you angry.
It startled me. It scared
Startled
me.
you.
Yes.
So you got angry.
Yes.
And what you did in response was to ride your bike on an overpass where you were, and when you saw his car passing under the underpass, you picked up a rock and threw it at his car.
Yes, ma'am, but it was actually a pebble, and I brought the approximate size that I dropped.
Pebble, rock, you threw a something at his car.
Yes.
That made Mr. Graham very angry,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you got off the expressway to find him,
Yes, ma'am.
because you saw him do it.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a confrontation. And that's what this lawsuit is about, because you said that during the course of that confrontation, Mr. Graham injured you and broke your bike.
Yes.
So let's start out. You're pedaling along, going to work. His car comes alongside you, and what does he say to you?
It wasn't him. It was his passenger that screamed at me.
What did his passenger say?
I don't know. It was just a holler, a very loud holler. I wasn't.
Which startled you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what did you do?
Well, I about fell off my bike. Then I picked up this little pebble, and I was thinking about dropping it. And when they pulled around, then he gave me the birdie. That was it. That's all it took to send me the rest of the way. So I did drop it. I wasn't dropping the pebble to cause damage. I was dropping the pebble as more of an act of, you do this to me, I do this to you, but I wasn't striving for revenge. I lost my head.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything to you, sir, that involved any physical touching.
I think
his passenger
yes, ma'am.
said something to startle you.
I think it's an accumulation of years of riding and getting people throwing things at me and hollering at me. I guess that one time I've been tired. I was riding my bike for 12 miles that day. I just lost it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You see the passenger?
Yes, he was, ma'am.
Did you do that? Up! Right there.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Sias says William Graham assaulted him while out riding his bike. William claims Ted threw a rock at his car.
What was the first thing that was said?
I asked him, ma'am, I said, why did you throw a rock at my car? He then got off his bike, and he says, well, you know, you screamed at me. And I'm like, who screamed at you?
Well,
you know,
it's clear he didn't scream at you. Just a minute. He didn't scream at you.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Somebody else did. Go ahead.
It could have been possible that we had been goofing around, laughing, whatever, you know, the case may be in the car, what you do with people.
Whatever, somebody in your car spooked him, right?
That must have happened somehow. It wasn't intentional.
Was he the passenger?
Yes, he was, ma'am.
Did you do that? Up! Right there. Right where the finger is. Did you do that to the bike rider?
I was...
No, look at me.
I'm sorry. I was singing in the car, yelling, having a good time, not yelling at anyone out of the car, intentionally.
Did you realize you had startled him?
No.
Now sit down. Go ahead.
Okay, so then he pushes me once. I push his hand down. I say, don't touch me again. He pushes me again, I push his hand down, and after I push his hand down the second time, he shove kicked me to my groin area, and I didn't do anything. Then I was going to call the cops. He got on his bike like he was going to leave, and I said, where are you going? And he said, oh, I'm leaving now, like that, and he's like, you're wasting my time. I said, yeah, thanks a lot, I just got my car painted. I had just got my car painted, and he dropped the rock and chipped on the roof of my car. And he says, well, now it just gives you something to do, doesn't it? He gets back off his bike, pushes me one more time. I push his hand down again, and then he kicked me harder in the same exact area, the same type of kick in the groin. And at that time, I grabbed his leg. He went to swing at me, and I hit him in the head, and then I hit him a couple more times. He fell over his bike, which was right behind him. Once he was on the ground, I held him down. This is all in a position where I had a broken collarbone at the time because I was in an accident maybe a month before at the most, and I had a cast on my hand from torn ligaments. So I was really in no position to be starting a fight.
What kind of accident? Car accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sayers, you want to tell me your version of the event, sir?
Basically, he's saying something to the effect that you're going to pay for it, you're going to pay for it, or you're going to apologize. I can't remember which one or both. And he kept trying to get closer to me, and I kept telling him to stay away. I said it numerous times. I did what's called a push kick towards his groin. It was not meant to cause any pain. He says, what was that?
But you did do that.
I did do that, yes, I did.
And he hadn't put his hands on you yet.
He was kept
No. He had not put his hands on you.
No, ma'am, not yet. I did what I could, which was non-lethal. I pushed towards his face to make him lean back to go away. I pushed towards his groin.
He didn't kill you either, Mr. Sayers. That's not lethal.
If you look at the picture, you'll see it's probably lethal. My face doesn't look too pretty. I probably got a birthmark that'll last me the rest of my life. You want?
Sure, I'll take a look.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's not lethal. Nasty, but not lethal.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You don't say anything in your complaint, Mr. Sayers, about your putting your hands on the defendant first. He's a young man, and very often people say, well, young kids, you know, they're going to lose their temper and they're going to get out of control. I think that it happens with men when they reach maybe age 50. You're not 50 yet, are you?
Nowhere near.
I know, they do have as sometimes what you describe as road rage. You went to the top of an overpass, you picked up a pebble. You say it was a very small pebble. It may have been, but certainly enough. If that falls on your car fast enough and shatters your windshield, that can cause you to lose control of the car, and it can cause you to go into a tree, another car, another person. It can cause very serious damage, injury, and can cause death. And then when he confronted you, when he stopped the car, which was his absolute right because he had done nothing to you, his partner over here maybe was singing too loud, maybe he was trying to frighten you, maybe he was acting like a jerk, which is possible, because I'm looking at him, and it's possible. But he didn't do anything to you. When he confronted you, instead of apologizing, you put your hands on him first, twice. And it looks to me, at the end of the day, you got the worst of it.
Obviously.
That's too bad. Your case is dismissed. Peters, you've been married for 6 years, and you're in the process of divorcing. According to your papers, I think that you've both agreed that your marriage is going to be over, despite the fact that I get some sense in these papers that you still care about each other, that your lives are going in different directions. And you come before me today because there is certain property that you have agreed to permit me to resolve with regard to the issue of ownership. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And once those issues of property are resolved, then the divorce process will be a relatively easy one.
Yes.
Yes.
Take a deep breath. Are you nervous?
A little.
Okay. Mrs. Peters, according to your complaint, there are 3 items at issue.
Right.
There is a car.
Right, the car.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 1993 Geostorm, GSI. And then the issue of my cat and my dog, he gave my cat away. And we had decided that I would...
So there's a dog?
Yes.
Because the cat's gone?
Yes. And then also we have some videos that we...
Some personal videos that he has that you would like back?
Well, I would
like it destroyed?
Yes.
Let's start with the car, because my sense is that the car is, in the area of emotions, the easiest thing to resolve.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, the car is in your name,
Yes, ma'am.
but she pays for it.
That is correct.
How did that come about?
Because when Chris and I had moved to California together, for a while he wasn't working, and I had paid some of his car payments, just 2 of them, so that I was afraid he was going to leave me if he couldn't pay his bills and I go back to Colorado, and I didn't want him to go back, so I paid that. And then I got sick afterwards, and I got really behind on my bills, so my car got repossessed, so I ended up filing for bankruptcy.
I don't believe you paid my car payments.
Yes, I did. I
Well,
did twice.
that's really not particularly relevant, because what we're here for is for resolution, not to revisit bad moments.
So anyway,
Does that
that's
sound
why.
right to you?
Yes.
So you had bad credit,
Yes.
but you needed a car,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you helped her.
Yes, ma'am. I told her, I says, now if I sign for this car, you have to promise me that you're going to make your payments on time and you're not going to make this a liability to me.
So you said, I'll sign for it, but promise that you'll make the
Make your
payments
payments.
faithfully and on time.
That's correct, Your Honor.
You don't mind if I help you out a little bit?
No, not a
because I
bit.
got other cases to do today.
Thank you.
Okay. How much more time has to go on this car loan?
About a year and a half.
And how long was the car loan? 5 years?
Yes.
And you would agree, Mr. Peters, that she has made, even though some of the payments were late, she's made all the payments.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So there really isn't much of an issue about that. When you separated, you took the car.
Yes.
So
Well,
the
the issue is the collection agents keep coming to me wanting those payments because they're always late.
They are not, I'm sorry. Sorry, Your Honor, but they're not always late.
Well, I got just this notice right here that she's behind 2 payments.
I'm not behind 2
Let
payments.
me ask you this question, Mr. Peters. How would you like to resolve this fairly with regard to the car? Let me see what your suggestion is.
Well, I would like to be able to sign it over in her name, but that's impossible because they won't do it because of her credit. So I think that she should at least reimburse me maybe half of what the car is worth, and that way.
How's that going to help you?
Well, my car is about ready to go.
How do you think it would be reasonable to resolve this issue? Because what you're really asking is you're asking him to sign the title of the car over to you, and yet he has the liability.
Yes, ma'am.
I've made all the payments up to now. I'm not going to stop making the payments.
Well, I know that because you're driving the car. But if you do stop making the payments, that means they're going to come after him or repossess the car.
I would never stop making the payments.
Mm-hmm.
I've already paid over $12,000 on that car, Your Honor. I'm not going to stop making the payments. Plus, I paid his car insurance until this year so that he could have car insurance because he didn't want to have car insurance.
That's not true. You left me with $1,500 worth of bills, and
Chris, that is so not true.
and I paid the last 2 months of your insurance.
Okay. How much is this car worth now, approximately?
$7,000.
Is that about right?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you have the last statement that you received on the car?
I just have one of the bill that's owed right here.
Can I see it, please? Well, it says this payment, you are delinquent by 1 month.
Actually, that will be true on the 26th. But I'm going to make the payment before the 26th.
Okay. Give me a minute. You still owe a lot of money on this car.
About $6,200, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably paid about $2,000 in overcharges by now.
No, I have not, Chris.
Well, she's paid for a long time. I mean, you have had the car for, if she's had the car for 4 years, if she's had the car for 4 years.
But every time she's late a payment, Your
I
Honor,
am not every time late a payment, Chris.
Just don't fight with each other. You don't have
Sorry.
to fight with each other anymore. You're getting a divorce. The fighting is over.
Later on Judge Judy.
Have you ever shown this video to anyone?
No, ma'am.
And you want it destroyed?
Yes, I do.
You want to keep it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's sick.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 34-year-old Chris Peters is divorcing his wife Kelly because she won't give up her exotic dancing career. They have asked Judge Judy to arbitrate their dispute over their pets, their car, and their intimate home video.
Mr. Peters, I'm going to suggest to you that for the purposes of liability and everything else, that you sign this car over to her so that the car is in her name. You, of course, always have the recourse of suing her in a small claims arena. You don't have to go through lawyers or anything else. You know she doesn't have money now.
Yes, ma'am.
My alternatives are to force her to sell the car, satisfy your loan, and then she'd have $800 left. Because if the car is worth $7,000 and there's $6,200 left to pay on the loan, that would put her in a position of not being able to be employed, really, because she wouldn't have a way of getting back and forth to work. I assume you drive to work.
Yes, I do.
Now, you've been married for 6 years. Are you employed on a regular basis?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You have a weekly paycheck?
The small one.
Okay. You are not, I assume, Ms. Peters, in your divorce action seeking support from him. Is that correct?
Of course not.
Because you're working.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to look at the long-term picture, Mr. Peters. This car is your insurance. Your insurance that when this whole divorce action is finalized, your wife is not going to ask for support from you because she's not working because she didn't have a car to get to work. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what it really means is for the next year while this car loan is being paid off, you'll have to sweat it a little bit to make sure, you know, that she's going to make the car payments. You also can feel confident that after all the money she's paid for the car, it is unlikely that she's going to allow the car to be repossessed. I'm telling you right now, if you don't make your payments, the first thing they do is come and get the car. So, Mr. Peters, you're going to sign the car over to her. That way, when your divorce is over, everything's going to be finished. Is that a good idea?
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right, good. So, that was the unemotional part of this dispute. Now, let's get to the dog. The dog's name is Breezy.
Yes.
Breezy is, according to your papers, a boxer.
Yep.
Is that a
Yes.
picture of Breezy?
No, this is a picture of my cat that he gave away without my permission.
Okay.
We'll get to the cat.
Yes,
Okay.
we will.
That's a picture of Breezy.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your papers, Miss Peters, you had a cat and a dog.
Yes.
You had Mac, the cat.
Yes.
Breezy, the dog.
Right.
And why don't you tell me about the arrangement with the cat and the dog when you separated in November?
Okay. We had agreed that I would take the cat, Mac, and I would let him keep Breezy, even though I didn't really want to let him keep Breezy because she's my dog too, and I love her, and I'm the one that took care of her, paid for her food most of the time, took her to the vet, all that stuff.
You agreed that you would keep the cat and he would keep the dog.
Right, and because I can't have the cat where I'm living right now, he had promised that he would keep Mackie for me until I could get my own place. And I thought that instead of taking Mac at the time and having him stay at a friend's house or having my sister keep him, it would be less traumatic for Mac if he stayed in his own house with his own yard until I could come get him. And he looked me in the eye and promised me that he would take good care of Mac.
The same way she looked me in the eye and promised me she'd make all her payments on time.
Oh,
Mr.
God.
Peters.
I did promise and looked her in the eyes about the cat, and then I'd keep it for her. But sometimes when you get...
So what happened with the cat?
The cat kept urinating all over the house and on my clothes and stuff, and I finally...
Coming up on Judge Judy.
It was totally done just for the two of us. I've never made that kind of video with anyone ever before. And I just did it for him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Peters are in the middle of a divorce, but they have come before Judge Judy to settle custody of their pets, a car, and a personal home video.
Why didn't you call your wife and say, listen, I'm giving away the cat. You want the cat, come and get it?
Because I knew that the cat needed a home, a good home, and Kelly wasn't prepared. She just left the cat. If she was so concerned about Breezy and the cat, then she should have done something before she left.
Okay.
She shouldn't have
Mr.
just left
Peters.
it up to me.
Mr. Peters, you didn't answer my question.
Why didn't I
Why
call
didn't
Kelly?
you, at that moment,
Because I was
pick up
pissed
the...
off.
Right. That's honest. There you go. Okay.
And
That's
I was
honest.
using, and I was thinking, I was thinking that, you know, it was her fault and stuff. And I was sorry. After I gave the cat away, I tried to get the cat back because I realized how much it really meant to Kelly, you know. But at the time of the anger of the moment,
Okay.
I hated the cat.
That's
so.
just a second. That's honest, Mr. Peters. Shh. Shh. That's honest.
Okay.
Well, so now, Mrs. Peters, your husband acknowledges that he got rid of the cat because the cat was soiling all over the house.
But, Your Honor, it's because he didn't clean out his box.
Whatever. For whatever reason. He didn't like the cat. Maybe he looked at the cat as an extension of you. Is that a possibility?
Maybe.
He acknowledges that he was wrong. That's a step. That's not a reason for me to say that you're entitled to the dog.
And I'm sorry I gave away the cat.
Good. Did you hear that?
Yes.
I am sorry.
Because, you know, it's like he did some... The dog has been with him. The dog has always been with him for the last 9 months. The dog has been with him, living in a place where the dog is accustomed to living. There's a certain routine. So if I were to say, well, you gave away the cat, now I'm going to give her the dog, who I'm really punishing is this dog who had very... You know, dog didn't have anything to do with getting rid of the cat. So that wouldn't be fair, would it? Mrs.
Well,
Peters, would
the
that
dog
be
lives-
fair to the dog?
No, probably
Right.
not.
You're right. It would not be fair to the dog. It's like saying if you have a child and there's a divorce, and if one parent acted badly about something, you punish that parent by saying, well, I'm going to limit your visitation with the child. Because that's punishing the child. It's not only punishing the party, but it's punishing the child for something that the child had no control over. This dog is used to living in a particular place. How old is the dog?
3 years.
So for 3 years, lived in the same place, same homes, got a yard, whatever. Does it?
Yeah, it's got
Got
a
a
big
yard, has a routine.
She's real happy too, Your Honor.
And there's really no reason for me to uproot the dog because he made a mistake.
Well,
Yes, I did.
He made a mistake. He apologized for it. It was not the right thing to do. So the dog stays with him.
Chris, thank you, Your Honor.
Now, the last thing that we're going to address is this video. Ms. Peters, it's your position that this was a rather intimate video that you and your husband took as husband and wife for fun, for whatever. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you want it destroyed.
Yes, I do.
Your position is you want to keep it.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Well, I have a couple of questions to ask you, sir.
Okay.
Have you ever shown this video to anyone?
No, ma'am, I would never show it to anyone else.
Okay, so you want to keep this for yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
That's sick. Very sick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's not as nasty or whatever that you want to think. I mean,
Your Honor, it's very graphic.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Peters, an exotic dancer, and her husband Chris Peters are divorcing. Judge Judy is deciding what happens to their intimate home video.
There is no reason that I can think of for divorced people to keep pictures, videos, photos of each other that the other party might find embarrassing.
Well, there's nothing embarrassing about it. It was just, you know, I mean, it's like, I love Callie. I'm always going to love her. And it's just, I mean, it's not as nasty or whatever that you want to think. I mean,
Your
it was
Honor, it's very graphic.
Just a second. I don't want to hear about it. I thought I was being very...
Sorry.
I thought I was being very circumspect about it. I said that it was an intimate thing done with...
I have
between
many
us.
other videos of her, too. I mean, that's not in the same category,
This is what she wants. This is the one that offends you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. I'm going to say this to you one more time, sir, and listen to me very carefully. When you divorce, if you're lucky, you're left with certain pleasant memories that you try not to forget. You know, you had good times with your wife. It just so happens that in your case, after 6 years, your lives have taken a different path. She doesn't want to have to worry about these photographs, these videos, falling into anybody else's hands. God forbid you're out in a car and your car is in a wreck and you are there comatose and your mother goes through your things and she says, I wonder if these are pictures of Chris when he was out skiing. And your mother plays this video. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir? You know, it's one of the reasons why people are always supposed to wear clean underwear all the time and keep their houses neat. You never can tell what's going to happen. There are all kinds of situations that I can conceive of where even if you don't intend something to happen, this can fall into the wrong hands. Someone can burglarize your house. That's a possibility. Isn't that a possibility?
I don't think they'd find the tape.
They're certainly not going to find it, sir, because there isn't going to be a tape.
So there's nothing I can say because...
There is absolutely nothing, sir, that you can say to me that would satisfy me that there is any logical, rational basis for you maintaining anything that might prove embarrassing to her. And if she had something that might prove embarrassing to you, I can guarantee you, sir, it would be in my possession if it was the subject of this litigation, and it would be destroyed.
Do you?
No, of course I don't.
Good. Officer Byrd, you and I are going to take care of this video in the back. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Peters, listen to me. It's resolved. This is going to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed within the next 5 minutes. Officer Byrd and I are going to have fun. We're going to create a little bonfire in my chambers. Now, then you don't have to worry about it anymore, Mrs. Peters. So let us see how we resolve this case. The Geo.
Yes, ma'am.
Is going to be registered in your name. The dog, Breezy, sir, is yours.
Thank you.
The video is mine. This case is over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please. Judge, this is number 11 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Well, this is a rather unfortunate intra-family dispute. According to this complaint, Mrs. Thompson, this is one of your sons.
My oldest son.
And this is your youngest son.
Right.
And it says here that you and your youngest son laid out $5,000 in bail money for the defendant.
Yes.
Who was incarcerated at the time for what, sir?
Domestic violence.
Against this lady?
Yes.
who is now your witness.
Yes.
And you asked your mother and brother to bail you out.
Yes.
So what happened?
Okay, he told us that he would be receiving over $3,000 income tax money and that he would be able to pay us back.
He called you from jail?
He was calling us from jail every day.
How long had he been in jail at this time?
He had been in there almost 2 months. I guess about 7 weeks.
So this wasn't the first time you had been arrested for domestic violence, is
No,
that
it
right? How many times have you been arrested for domestic
3.
violence? 3 times.
Yes.
In what period of time?
Like all 10 years.
All involving this lady?
Yes.
This time they kept you in,
Yes.
and you called your mom.
Yes.
So what did you do?
Okay, he was calling me twice a day, and then he was wanting to speak to Stacy, his lady. He wanted to speak to her and the children, and I was allowing because they didn't have a phone. So it ran my bill up to over $400. I'm sorry, it ran it up to $442 in telephone collect calls.
From jail?
And yes, from jail. So she came over and she told...
How close do you live to her?
Across the street. Across the street and maybe 2 buildings down. And he was asking about bailing him out because she was saying that they weren't getting along. I mean, that she was not going to be with him when he came out. And
Stop playing with the paper, sir. Put them down.
And she mentioned another man that she was seeing. And so I mentioned it to Derek, and he felt that he had, he wanted to be out. He didn't want me to say anything about what was going on over there. In the meantime, she also brought over, they've been together for 6 years living, and she brought over 3 big plastic bags of clothing of his. And she said because when he came out, she didn't want him back there. And
well, so far that sounds smart, but I have a sense that changed.
Yes. So in the meantime, he was calling to ask us if we would bail him out.
So you did. Who put up the money?
My son Daryl put up $2,000. He moved in with me rather than find another place to let his brother have the $2,000 that he was borrowing. And the $3,000 balance, I had to put a lien on my home to put up to make the full amount of the $5,000.
What did you do with the $5,000? Tell me physically, what did you do with it once you had it?
We bailed Derek out.
How did you do that?
We used the bail bondsman.
We used the bail bondsman.
And the bail bondsman wanted the whole $5,000?
No, he wanted $2,000 at first, which I had paid up cash, and $3,000 later deferred in payments, which he was supposed to make arrangements to pay back.
And I had to put the lien in my home.
And she put her home up also
as collateral.
Yes, yes.
Was that domestic violence matter finally resolved?
No, it is not.
Well, you get that money back as long as he shows up in court, less a fee.
You don't get the 10% back.
We're talking about just the 10%.
Yes, you don't get the 10% back.
Bond,
we have it right here.
His bail was $50,000.
Yeah, it was
and we had to put $5,000 there. The $5,000 we don't get back.
Your bail was $50,000?
Yes.
Let me see the papers. This must have been some domestic violence. They don't give murderers $50,000
He had another charge also.
What?
Child molestation or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, and then we did bail him out for that. He is out on bail.
Which child?
I don't know.
One of his children?
Sure
No,
I don't know.
No.
I don't know about it.
Yeah, you had $50,000 bail. That's what it says.
Yes, and we did put up $5,000.
And we have to put the $5,000.
Which he does owe us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing, he had said that he was going to pay us back once he got his tax returns, and he had went and filed his taxes.
And this is the
she has the proof showing that he had received his tax, getting back his income tax money without paying us back the cash money, which we had put up, which he had promised to pay back. Because personally, I had talked to him like twice over the phone. He was saying, "Well, if you bail me out, I promise as soon as I file my taxes, I'm gonna pay you right back or whatever else. I got so and so amount waiting for me."
Did I not offer you $1,000? I had $1,000 of dollars and I gave it to you.
No, you didn't pay me anything.
Don't talk to each other. Talk to me.
Okay.
Yes, you both acknowledge that he offered you $1,000.
He offered me $1,000. I told him I wanted $2,000, which he had owed me, not part of it in payment.
Is your mother's house still collateral for this bail?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Well, why haven't you paid anything to the bail bondsman?
Oh, well, how am I supposed to? I lost my job when I got out.
He
Why?
gets unemployment.
Just a second.
I do.
But where did you get the $1,000 from?
I was working part-time, and I made $1,000.
So why didn't you just pay that to the bail bondsman to at least take $1,000 off the lien that your mom had on her house?
I guess I wasn't thinking about it.
Sounds to me like you've done a lot of not thinking.
I had made arrangements with the bail bondsman to make payments.
So how many payments did you make to the bail?
I have made none.
Let me understand this. You made arrangements with the bail bondsman to make payments, but you haven't made any.
Yes.
Why not?
Well, I made arrangements with the bail bondsman. He said when I get it, then they give it to him.
But until that time, sir, your mother is on the hook. Why don't you just make the payments to the bail bondsman? Why didn't you give the bail bondsman $1,000 and say, this is on account, take $1,000 off my mother's lien on her house?
It's true.
But in the meantime, he's received the $3,000 tax money that he didn't pay
me back. He said he
What'd
was
you do with
pay
it?
back
Received
$3,000.
Just a second.
He got a van fixed, and it was over $2,000 worth of damage on it.
He took the money and blew it.
No, number one, the van was not, her mother paid for the van to get fixed.
Thank you.
I didn't pay for anything.
Step up here. How can I ask you a couple of questions?
Thank you very much.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I really feel sorry for your 4 children. God, 4 children. Don't
Well, I
realize the
feel sorry
mistake
for them.
after you have 1 or 2 or 3, you gotta have 4 children with him. Gee whiz.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Thompson and his mom are suing his brother Derek for money they say they paid to bail him out of jail.
How many children do you have with him?
4.
4 children with him. And how many times have you had him arrested for domestic violence?
Oh, a couple.
What?
A couple.
A couple is 2. How many?
I don't know, 2, 3 times, a couple.
About 8 times.
Excuse me. It has never been 8 times.
Just a second.
You want to see 8 times?
Let me ask you this.
Look
She
in the
broke her
records.
hand
Thank
once
you.
trying to hit him.
This is why we were splitting up, because of our problems. So I took my stuff over to his mother's house because that's where he was going to be staying. As far as me having another man, that's none of their business.
Just a second.
That was between her.
What my problem is, based upon the answer to their complaint and your counterclaim, because you say there was an argument, you came over to get your money, and you say she hit you in the face.
Yes.
That suggests to me that you took him back when he got out of jail.
No.
Yes, she did.
I did. Excuse me.
Shh. Go ahead.
No, I did not take him back. He stayed at my house for 2 times because I care about him a great deal. He is my kid's father. I let him stay there. Fine. I had no problem with it. We were still separated at this time. The whole time that he was at my house, it was like a jealousy thing that she had. The whole time he was at my house, I was not even away. I was not even there.
We just want the money back, primarily.
Just a second. Just a second. Tell me about your countersuit. Let me hear the countersuit.
Oh, I have a countersuit because when she came over one day, you know, she kicked him out of the house because she said he was staying at my house.
That's not the reason for the countersuit.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I did not kick him out.
Hey!
You brought my clothes.
Listen to me.
Well, she had, at this point, she had told her dad that I had supposedly disrespected her when he brought the clothes over. I'm getting to the part. Thank you.
Just get to it fast. You're standing out on the front lawn.
She came over to my house and accused me of not letting him see the kids. He was at my house seeing the kids. So I went downstairs to confront her about it, and I told her, I said, I'm tired of these lies. If you don't like it, get off my property, leave. That's when she swung at me.
And where did she hit you?
She hit me right here in my left cheek. And she also wrote this letter.
Just a second. When she hit you in your left cheek, did you go to the doctor?
No, I went to the police though because I figured I was going to.
Did you go to the doctor?
No, there was no need to.
But you're suing her for $2,000. What are you suing her for $2,000 for?
Emotional distress.
What happened? All right.
Just that, that she did it in front of her grandchildren, my children, other neighborhood kids. And also I have this letter here saying that she has my Social Security number, my checking account number, and she's going to do harm to us because the money was not paid. I have no part of this. Why she got my Social Security number? Why is she going to do this? Can you look at this, please?
And
this
then
isn't her
how much
handwriting?
I was supposed to pay, too.
Yes, it's her handwriting.
She wrote down how much I was supposed to pay back.
Yeah, it went from her money went from $500 to $3,000.
The $500 is what he promised that he would pay back on my telephone bill, plus money that he owed on rings that I let them use my Zelle credit card to buy.
Just a second. Stop. I can't read and listen to you at the same time.
I'm sorry.
This is a very straightforward letter. It says, Derek and Stacy, that's you two.
Yes.
Your tax refund was sent directly to Stacy's checking account with the checking account number, and it was mailed on March 21st.
I don't have a checking account.
We want our $2,500 today. Nothing wrong with this letter. Let me ask you this question. You had him arrested for domestic violence, which means he physically hurt you. How many times?
A few.
How many times did you
3.
sue him? How many times did you sue him?
Have I sued him? I've never sued him.
Why not? He put his hands on you. Why didn't you sue him?
Because the DA automatically picks it up and I have no...
No. You can go to small claims court and sue him for assault, sue him for hurting you. I assume that he hurt you very badly if he was in jail on $50,000 bail.
No, that's not what
But
$50,000 was
why
for.
are you suing her? And I don't excuse the fact that she slapped you in the face, but you say yourself you weren't injured. Why in the world would I award you $2,000?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm very heartbroken, and I feel very hurt by the not being able to be with my grandchildren anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Thompson and his mom are suing his brother Derek for money they say they paid to bail him out of jail.
Why in the world would I award you $2,000?
Just for the strain and everything that she's caused on me. My kids don't even want to be around them. I have a little baby.
I want to tell you something about strain. Let's talk about strain. Let's talk about these two people that live right across the street from you. You have 4 children with their father. Every other Monday and Thursday, he's getting arrested for domestic violence. He's also arrested for child molestation. This prize package has $50,000 bail on him. His parents bail him out. His mother and his brother bail him out. Not you, the mother of his 4 children. They bail him out.
Well, I don't think they bailed him out because supposedly I was with a quote-unquote another guy.
What different? No, they bailed him out.
He never, it's not like he put a gun to their head and told them to do it. He did it on they did it on their own.
I want to tell you something. I feel
that
very
has nothing to do with me, though. I shouldn't have to be problems with her or her daughter either.
What I'm telling you is, and you're not listening to me, I really feel sorry for your 4 children. God, 4 children. Don't realize the mistake after you have 1 or 2 or 3. You got to have 4 children with him. Gee whiz. Listen, you're entitled to your money. Your house should not be in jeopardy.
Thank you.
Right? And you bailed your brother out. I assume you did so with the best of intentions.
Yes.
I'm going to suggest something else to you. This isn't the last time he's going to get arrested. That's my sense. Hold on to your house. Hold on to your house.
Yes, I learned a lesson from this.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, and the countersuit is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back, go to your right, please.
The children are welcome at my house anytime.
Yeah, well, I don't want them over your house. The way you treat this family.
Stacy, okay? We just wanted the money back.
Well, good, you got your money, but you don't have to go through all this other I his friends.
Yes.
Excuse me, I his friend. Yeah, you better check yourself.
The family can hurt you the most.
Parties on Regas versus Foster. Step forward, please.
Carlos Regas, a massage therapist, loaned money to his neighbor Chris Foster to help pay his mortgage, but says he was never paid back.
You lent him money to make 2 mortgage payments so he wouldn't lose his house. Is that right?
That is correct.
Well, why did you lend him money? Were you friends? Did you know?
Friends, yeah. I've known Chris for about 1.5 years. When I moved into the neighborhood, I'm renting a house like 2 doors down. And he would help us out, you know, cutting grass, helping around the garage, things like that. And so we became friends. And then, fortunately, his mother-in-law passed away, and they inherited a house.
They what?
They inherited the house, the house she was living in, yeah. And they came to me, let me know that there was a situation that had aroused, that they found out that the house was 2 months behind in mortgage. They had a friend of the family that was going to be able to help them out. And I said, you know, if you need any help, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Came to me a few days later saying they couldn't get hold of these people, this friend, if I would help them out. And I said, yeah, sure. You know, what do you need? Say it was 2 months behind. This is the amount we need.
How much?
It was $1,791.60.
And you made, according to your papers, checks payable directly to the mortgage company?
Yeah, to his mortgage company, yes. And I said, you know, I can't afford to lose this money. You know, so don't worry about it. I'll give it back to you within 5 days to 2 weeks, because these people will probably be back in town. I think he said they're on vacation. They'll come back in town. We'll contact them, get the money. I'll pay you back. And that was May 6, 1996.
Why didn't you pay him back the money, or did you?
Oh no, I haven't. And the reason why that why that transpired is because that the mortgage company is supposed to refinance on the properties so we can get the equity to pay him back immediately.
What does that have to do with him? That's your problem.
I understand you. I do understand you.
Well, why didn't you pay him back the money?
Because, as I said, it's not matter of I don't want to pay back him the money or anything like that. That wasn't a deliberate thing not to pay back. It's within all my intentions
Well, how many
so.
payments? Listen, sir,
Aye.
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
How many payments? How many $50 payments did you give him in the last year?
None whatsoever.
How many $25 payments did you give him in the last year?
None whatsoever.
Well, that makes you a deadbeat. That makes you a deadbeat, sir. This man who is not related to you by blood, is that right?
Yeah.
Just a friend.
Uh-huh.
For a year. You came to him and you said, I'm in trouble. I don't want to lose this house that I just inherited. Can you help me out for a short time? Is that what you said to him?
Yeah.
He said, sure. Nice man. Listen, I should take your number in case I ever get into any problem. He wrote out checks. Did he ask you to sign a note?
No.
Did he ask you for collateral?
Yes.
What collateral did you give him?
He suggested that we have antique furniture there within the garage. He will take them as collateral for payment or holding them until we can get the money to...
Does he have the furniture now?
He didn't come back and pick them up, my lady.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You have no case. None. He's 100% right. He's a very nice man. And you stiffed him. No?
No.
No, you...
No.
I'm telling you, you stiffed him. Let me ask you this question, sir. Who do you live with?
My wife and my kids.
How many kids?
3 kids.
You feed them?
Sure.
They have clothes?
Definitely.
Where do they get the clothes from?
The store.
Who buys them?
Myself and my wife.
You feed them?
Yes, I do.
Where do they get the food from?
The store. Where we work, we take care of it, yeah.
That's right. Something, goodwill over the last year, an effort, some small effort to show this man that he wasn't taken for a fool would have gone a long way. Something to say, I can't give it back to you, oh, something happened. But he is not a partner in your misfortune. You just made this perfect stranger a partner in your misfortune. Mr. Regis, you are entitled to your judgment. I am granting you your judgment. You're not even asking for interest. Is that right?
No, ma'am. I just want to get back what I put into it.
Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,791.60. You're a good guy, sir. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And
Number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Sherman versus Hollins.
Sir.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Those belong to your boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Sherman, I've read your complaint. You are suing the defendant for $5,000 for discrimination, stress, mental anguish, because he won't let your 2 sons play in his football league. Right?
That is correct. My 2 sons and my daughter, who's a cheerleader, and my niece.
Well, let's not talk about your niece. I'm not interested in your niece.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about your daughter, who's a cheerleader. That's not part of your lawsuit. Let's talk about your 2 sons. You believe that it is actionable, which means that you have a cause of action against this man for the things that I've just outlined, because he, and I believe you run this football league,
That's correct. I founded it.
won't let your boys play.
Exactly.
Why won't he let your boys play? Do you know?
Well, Mr. Holland seemed to have a personal vendetta against me for an incident that happened earlier before the season actually got started.
What was the incident?
Well, the incident happened where I was the uniform coordinator.
Uniform coordinator for the team?
For the organization.
Okay.
Okay. I coordinated the accessories and things for the football players, the team moms, the team managers, the coordinators, and everyone involved in the
So you were in
organization.
charge of uniform accessories?
Exactly.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. So what happened?
The incident happened where I ordered gold socks to accommodate the colors or whatever in the uniforms, and Mr. Hollins wanted blue socks. And the incident just got blown out of proportion. He, you know, just really, you know, never let me live it down, and he's just been
So
real
you ordered
hard
color
on me.
socks that he didn't, just a minute, let me understand this. You ordered a color socks that he didn't like. You had an argument about that.
A big argument.
And after that, what happened?
After that, everything I have done for the organization, he has just, you know, looked down upon me. He's criticized me. He's just, nothing I can do for the organization is to his liking, you know, everything, you know.
And your boys had played in the league before, in his league before.
This was the start of this organization.
I know, but did they play for a season with his group?
Yes. This was their first year.
And they did play?
Yes.
So your complaint is that they weren't invited back for year 2?
Exactly.
You want to say something to me?
Yes. That incident that she described was only one of many incidents. The incident that actually brought the last blow was at a meeting on February 28th of '97. We're supposed to have been just a general business meeting, and Mrs. Sherman became unhappy with the agenda and stormed out. So when the board met and discussed the year of events from August, from the incident with the socks, there was an incident on, I believe that was Wednesday, September 3rd, after a high school game. She had verbal confrontation with our cheer coordinator, which she was kicking the lady's vehicle, slamming her door, and this was done in front of several of the high school faculty. And it was
what was that incident about?
It was about a list of names that she was demanding from our cheer coordinator that she did not feel that was produced in a timely manner.
I didn't demand anything, and I'm sure if I was kicking and doing this to this lady's car, in which it was a brand new car, I'm sure I'd be in court right now with her for a lawsuit.
So what you're saying is
I did not do that to the lady.
You didn't assault her car?
No, I did not. We had verbal words.
Well, I'm beginning to get the gist of this. So your board decided that they didn't want her to be the uniform coordinator anymore.
Well, just not uniform coordinator, just through her conduct and her actions throughout the entire course of the year, which I have here the flow chart for the organization. Even with the incident that involved myself and Mrs. Sherman.
Over the socks?
Yes, it was it was really an ugly event, and there were several other events. As her acting as the uniform coordinator, there were numerous.
Listen, Mr. Hollins, you have a right to say, if you have a board, I don't want this person involved. All I asked you was, did your board decide that they didn't want Miss Sherman to be the uniform coordinator anymore?
And to not invite her back, yes.
And not invite her back in what capacity?
Any involvement, and it was basically not wanting her to even return to the organization, simply because of her conduct.
Okay. Now, what did that have to do with her boys?
Well, the boys are in her family. It wasn't that we were banishing the boys, but it was just that we preferred that she did not return with her family because of her conduct. And it was brought to our attention, well, do you think it's possible that she can come and just participate, you know, and support her children? And we said, well, yeah, but it's a concern with the other parents, other board members, that her having nothing to do would just give her more ample time to just be more of a disturbance.
Well, Mrs. Sherman, your problem, madam, is that you have to have a legally actionable case. Mr. Hollins is not legally obligated to accept any boy or girl on his team. I'm sure that a lot of people try out for the team that aren't accepted. Is that right?
That's correct.
Exactly, but what he is doing is trying to keep my children from participating in his program because he doesn't personally like me.
So what?
In which,
but Mrs. Sherman, that may sound unfair to your children, but let us assume
it's
the following.
It's unfair, period, in life.
It's unfair in life.
It's discrimination.
You know, if he auditions, what do? You audition people for your team?
Tryouts.
Tryouts. Let's say he has tryouts for his football league, and 50 kids come and try out. And he only accepts...
It's 33 per team.
33 kids. Exactly. You're going to have 17, right?
That's right, 17.
17 children who are going to be disappointed. If I permitted your lawsuit, madam, that would mean that the families of those 17 kids who were not asked or invited onto the team could have a cause of action for discrimination, mental stress on themselves, mental stress on their children. Nobody would be involved with coaching a team anymore. Nobody would be involved in starting a team.
This isn't the case.
That's not the case.
This is not the case.
Of course it's the case.
It's not. They didn't even get an opportunity.
Listen to me. They don't have to be given an opportunity.
They do, according to the bylaws of King Conference.
Yeah, he doesn't own this
He doesn't
organization.
own
This
the
is a
whole
public
organization.
Just a second. This isn't a public organization.
It is
It's
so.
a public
Just a second.
organization.
Just
It
a
is
second.
so.
That's just
How
like
is-
saying a black person couldn't go to a white something.
Please,
a white
Mr.
person
Sherman, don't
it's
bring black and white into this. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, this-
How many children in this league are black?
Almost the entire
So
league.
then stop talking discrimination.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with discrimination.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He has an ego problem, a control problem, and he just does not take constructive criticism from a woman well.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Football Junior League Director Lester Hollins says he had to ban Beverly Sherman and her sons from the league because she was too much to deal with.
It has to do, Mr. Sherman, with the fact that he had an altercation with you, and according to him, the board decided that they didn't want you to be involved anymore.
That's fine.
That's fine. And they would prefer, for the sake of all the other children, not to have you involved because, according to him, and I'll let him go on and tell me what the incidents were that he says. We had one incident where he says that you kicked the car. You had another incident where you had a verbal altercation with him. I mean, I feel sorry for your boys, but you have to understand that not every wrong is legally actionable. Not every wrong results in coming to a court. Sometimes if something like this happens, you have to say to your boys, which you did according to your papers, listen guys, there is another football league, and you have to be involved with that one because I don't get along with Hollins, I don't get along with this whole organization. There is another place for your boys to play football.
But
Sure.
why do they have to be made to go somewhere else when they haven't done anything?
caused any
They haven't
problem.
done
Life's
anything.
tough.
I haven't done
Mr. Sherman,
anything.
listen to me.
Sure.
You're not following me. I said it's sad. I said it's unfortunate. I said it's probably unfair to the boys that they can't play. All of those things. What I'm saying to you is, it is not legally actionable. Because if it was legally actionable for you, that it would be legally actionable, courts would have to open their doors to the other 17 boys who tried out for that team and who, for one reason or another, were rejected. And it may have been unfair. He may not have liked them because they were too tall, too short, too fat, too thin. He needed a tall one. This was a short one. Whatever reason. He wanted this cheerleader because she was prettier than that cheerleader. He wanted this cheerleader because she was taller than that cheerleader. If I allowed your kind of lawsuit, our courts would be flooded with this kind of case. And we can't have that because not every wrong is subject to a legal redress. It's as simple as that. It's sad. But your boys can play football. They weren't discriminated against because of their race, because of their ethnicity, because of anything else. They were discriminated against, if you can use that term, because he didn't want to look at you during the course of the season.
Not a problem, because I don't
That's
want to look
it.
at him either.
He didn't want to.
So you're
I ask a
saying
question?
that he can make people come and go in this organization as he chooses.
That's absolutely right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
Tell them about that you was a prostitute and how you was a good actress because you had to fake for your tricks. You had to fake for your
she
for
only
the
steals
police.
from rich people and whores.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Football Junior League Director Lester Hollins says he had to ban Beverly Sherman and her sons from the league because she was too much to deal with.
You don't seem to understand.
I
It's
don't think
sad,
you got
but
it.
I'm going to say it one more time. Every disappointment does not result in a lawsuit for stress, right? Your boys have the opportunity to play at another football league where not only they will be welcome, but hopefully the two of you will be welcome. Welcome to participate, welcome to get involved. I would suggest that you use your energies towards more productive things rather than negative things. They are not welcome because you, madam, are not welcome. And the fact that you are fighting here in court about this instead of moving on and getting your boys involved in another football league where you and your boys and your son will all be welcome is a big mistake.
We've already done that.
Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll be back with you, right?
The children suffer because of the parents' behavior.
He can't even come out the courtroom
the behavior
and tell the
of the parents.
I mean, that's
why,
a shame.
you know, we
That's
just
a
did not
shame.
permit the family in itself.
Parties on Humphreys versus Stewart. Step forward, please.
Company manager Ernestine Humphreys claims her niece, 33-year-old Yolanda Stewart, stole $1,000 of her company's cash.
Ms. Humphreys, the
Yes,
defendant is your niece.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you are accusing your niece of stealing $1,000 of business money.
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Well, tell me why you think she took this money and how.
I represent a company in Detroit, and I am responsible for making the deposits, weekly deposits. On Tuesday, May the 6th, I was in my office. I had balanced the manager's sheet, counted the money, and I had $7,200 on my desk. My
In
niece,
cash?
Yes, in cash. Already wrapped and counted.
What kind of business is this?
Coin laundries.
A coin laundry, so they collect all the money and then you make a deposit of cash.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there was a knock on the door, and the employee was in the bathroom, so I opened the door. It was my niece. She works down at the next light, and I thought she just saw my car and came by to say hi and whatever. During the time that she was there, I turned and walked away to use the telephone, and when I came back, she suddenly was in a hurry to go. And a couple of days later, the corporate headquarters in Toledo informed me that my bag was missing a roll of tens, 100 tens, which was $1,000. And they didn't understand why this happened. They wanted to know if I had someone helping me count the money, because all of the years that I've worked for this company, that has never, ever happened.
Well, how many people touch this money after you count it and prepare a deposit?
I give it to the owner's son, David, and he takes it and gives it to his father, the owner of the company, and he makes the deposit.
So at least 2 other people touch that bag before it gets to a bank.
Right, but the owner has 26 stores. He's a multimillionaire, and his son is very wealthy. I don't think they need $1,000.
Did you take this money?
No. And second of all, she did not walk away and use the phone. She asked me to walk away and call my sister to see what time my sister and her daughter were coming to Detroit. We both walked to the phone, which I did that, and my sister was not there. We left a message on her machine. And then I said, well, I have to go. I was at work. I seen her car like I always do. I stopped in to say, hey, how you doing? We both talked. The money was on the table. And I talked to her briefly, and then I said, well, I got to get back to the store. I left nobody in charge. I said, I'm going down to Highland Park, and then I'm going back to my store. She said, oh, thanks for coming and all that. She walked me out to my car. I don't know, she came out the second door, and she watched me as I got in my car, and she was talking to me. And this right here is what I had on. I had no jacket. I had no purse, nowhere where I could have stuck $1,000. The day before that, she told me she needed some money. I said, well, I don't have any money. She told me that the day before. And also the day before, I helped her count this money. She paid me $50 out the money for helping her count it, which it wasn't my first time helping her count the money at all. And then after that, she said, she came to me about a few days later. She said, I went to the meeting in Toledo. She was nervous. She came up to my job. She said, they said I'm missing a bundle of tens. And she said, from the house. I said, well, it couldn't have been missing from your house. When I stopped at your laundromat, I said, you were just now writing it on the sheet. She said, oh, you're right. And then after that, that's when I heard it happened at the laundromat, which she never left me, in which her office has a lock on it. So why would she ever say, she could have just asked me to step out and let the door lock.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Let me tell you this.
Yes, Your Honor.
You really do not have any proof that Miss Stewart took this money.
No, it's just circumstantial.
And you understand that it's really unfair for any court to convict someone, and in effect, I would be convicting her of being a thief if I were to grant you this $1,000 judgment that you're after.
I understand.
Especially since there were other people who had their hands on that money. I just think it's so sad that you had a lovely relationship, according to your papers, before this happened, and that you make this accusation without any real proof to back it up.
Your Honor, she was the only one in the office that day while the money was on the desk.
Money.
And
you needed money.
Well, shh.
Order.
I did not.
No, don't talk.
I did not need any money.
Listen to me.
No, I did
Listen
not.
to me. You may have needed money.
No, I did not.
She may
Yes,
have
you
needed
did.
money. Bottom line is, in a court, you have to deal with proof. And there were other people who touched that money after you counted it, prepared a deposit, and gave it to the owner's son. You don't know who the owner's son gave it to. He may have let somebody
He gave
else.
it to his father.
Well, but you don't know that. Hey, do I look like I need help?
Okay, I'm just helping you out.
You don't know that. It may have gone from his hand to 2 or 3 other people before it ended up in the bank. So I cannot award you the judgment that you're requesting. I just, again, find it very sad that 2 people who had been very close to each other, clearly, are now not. I think maybe you should apologize to her for letting this thing go this far. Anyway, this case is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You were engaged to be married to Miss Rigos' mother. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
Lived together for a while?
Yes, we were.
And unfortunately, according to your complaint, the plaintiff is her daughter, and she says that there's certain property of her mother's that she wants that's in your possession. Is that what this case is about? Not in $5,000.
I'm not interested in the money, Your Honor.
No, she says she just wants the property back. That was her mother's. Ms. Rigos, I read Mr. Gomez's answer to your complaint, and I must tell you that based upon it, and my sense from reading his answer is that he loved your mother very much.
I did, very much, yes.
What are these things that you want of your mother's?
Well, in the beginning, it was mainly just, certain momentum. A month and a half ago, and it was just a couple of boxes with her shoes, 2 bags of clothes, which is not in Europe, in Michigan. When we were growing up, that's it.
What's the old country?
In Malta.
So he gave you back the mementos, those photos?
Things that my kids bought, their grandma, for birthdays. I stayed there for a couple months, and it lasted there all these years. And my son called him in April and asked him if he could get it. And there's just other things that are there that are mine. My sewing machine, which he had brought. Why he would tell a little 10-year-old that. He has not gotten a hold of me.
Okay.
And then when she came back, she asked me that, I told her to come back and we'll live together, and she asked me if I could help her start a business. I said,
responsibility to contribute to those funeral expenses. You know that. I assume he did it because he loved your mother. Well, just a second. What he's saying is he took out a loan for the equipment.
Yes, I understand that, but the loan came from...
It's my job to determine whether somebody is a credible witness. Yes, sir.
One more question I have.
Well, I do. I do. I think that you all have to understand that when somebody dies, everybody feels sad. I thought about this a lot over the last 20 years, whenever I've had family.
He went in with, in the beginning, I abide by his wishes. We all did. He said, give me a couple months. I don't want to part with your mother's things. We abide by it.
No, listen to me.
He wanted half of my mother's ashes, which is immoral.
Listen to me. You lived with her for 4 years. Nonsense, folks.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I loved her.
That's outrageous. He was not a bad person. He cared for her.
We didn't say he
I
was,
could
right?
understand you saying to me, I want the things that belong to my mother. I want to give them back in the frames, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay? So that you're going to give back. Now, do you have this motorcycle? Do that?
I'll do that.
Did you bring any of these things with you to
set my plug to my sewing machine?
It's in the box.
The dish set is?
I didn't know it was there. That's what she said.
For better, for worse, They were a couple. And you should be happy that your mother, from the time she was 48...
Or whatever. She had that on there, and she just says,
a second.
I gave that.
Just a minute.
It was stuck in the back.
It is. And you keep it, sir.
Thank you very much.
You've got to get over your anger.
This means very, very, very much to me.
Pretty lady. Okay.
Thank you.
Give them back their things. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Remind me of her. And I have a pair of shoes that slippers that she took off, and I never touched them yet. I just leave them there. That's.
You never showed me the note when I told you about this.
That's right, I'm angry. I'm angry. Yes, I am in the 4 years, okay?
Where's
so
the
stay
note?
out
I
of
wanna see
it.
the note for this.
Stay out of it.
Why did you have never showed me the note when I told you about this?
That's right, I'm angry. I'm angry. Yes, I am angry. He never loved my mother. She was miserable because of his daughter, okay? To my mother's funeral. That was uncalled for.
On the calendar in the matter of Bunch versus the Cowboy Boogie Company. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, gentlemen.
Mr. Bunch.
Yes.
And you are, sir?
Mr. Wade.
Shh. Mr. Wade, you are the owner of this club?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Bunch, your papers indicate that you were assaulted by Mr. Wade's employees while you were a patron at the club.
Yes, Your Honor, that's true.
Want to tell me what happened, sir?
Me and a bunch of friends went that night to take some dance lessons to have a good time at the club. And
is this a dance club?
yes, it is. And we took the lessons, and afterwards we were dancing, and a good song came on, and we decided that we were going to dance with the rest of the customers that were up on a stage or a platform area. And when we got up there, me and my friend John, we danced for about a half of the song. And at that point, one of the bouncers came up and told us that we had to get down. So we did. And we asked him, why could the rest of the people dance up there if we couldn't? And he said, simply because they're girls. And John protested. He said, well, that's not fair. You know, in our society, it's supposed to be equal. If they can dance there, we should be allowed to also.
So there were only girls up on the platform?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So he said if he didn't like it, take it up with the management or get the heck out of the place. And we turned around and we started to walk away, and I said, all right, Haas. And that was probably a mistake. I called the guy Haas. But I don't think that was a very harsh thing to call him. And we walked away and we went back to our table. And at that point, he said, all right, you guys are out of here. And he turned around and he walked away. So we just kept going back to our table, and we sat down and we were with the rest of our friends. And he came back instantly with a bunch of guys wearing red shirts that said Cowboy Boogie Company, and he grabbed me briskly and picked me off of my bar stool and started escorting me out of the establishment. And I went peacefully, and in front of me was John, carried hog-tied, and they were slamming him around, running him out the front door, knocking over some of the other customers that were in the place, and they threw him out the front door.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, we were underneath the umbrella in front of the establishment, and we walked past that, and we were actually in the parking lot now. And John turned around and said, I want my cowboy hat. And
this is John.
This is John.
May I say something?
Not yet.
That night, he had just purchased a cowboy hat from this establishment, and he had lost it that night.
Okay.
So he was upset. They didn't want to let him go back in the club to get the hat, and they were arguing, exchanging words at each other. And at this point, to remind you, we were past the umbrella out in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, one of the bouncers, I believe it's this guy here.
Which one, in the red shirt?
In the red shirt, yes, ma'am. He blew his top and ran out. He was by the front door. He ran out and slugged him in the chest, knocking him down to the ground. And his girlfriend and I were standing next to him, and he said, excuse my language, F you too, and he punched her in the chest and knocked her down the ground also. And then when he turned towards me, at that point, I had just instantly, I defended myself, I hit him, I turned around, and I wanted to get the heck out of there. There was too many bouncers there. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I just wanted to be safe and get out of there.
Okay.
Then...
Just a second. So let me understand this, Mr. Bunch. You hit the employee first.
Yes, ma'am, after he had hit both of my friends and turned towards me.
You hit the employee first?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead, then what happened?
Okay, so I ran through the parking lot as fast as I could.
So you hit him, and then you ran away?
Yes, I ran as fast as I could. And then there was a bunch of people chasing me. And I zigzagged through the parking lot. I ran different directions. Finally, they caught up with me. and they beat the crap out of me. They knocked me down on the ground.
Order.
I curled up into a ball, and they stomped me. They kicked me with cowboy boots or I don't know what, but they broke my finger. They gave me a subcutaneous hematoma in one of my other fingers. They kicked me in the back.
Just a second. When you say a subcutaneous hematoma, it meant that one of your nails turned black?
Yes, and they had to, in the ER, they had to burn a hole through my nail with an electric probe so the blood can come out. It was very painful. They broke my pinky in 2 places. I had numerous bruises and scratches and kicks, and I had a bump on my elbow that lasted for 2 weeks. I was just in pain.
Where did you hit this gentleman when you hit him?
Somewhere in the face.
And I assume that you hit him with your fist.
Yes, I did.
And you didn't stick around to see what kind of injury there was?
Not at all. I was running for my life. I wanted to leave that establishment. There was too many bouncers there. And I'm not a fighter. I was just defending myself. This guy hit both of my friends and turned towards me. Look at him. He's 6'4", 300 pounds and muscular. I'm getting out of there.
You should have gotten out before you hit him, Mr. Bunch.
He turned towards me and was coming at me.
No, listen to me. You should have, at that point, if you're scared to death of him, you turn around as fast as your little legs can take you and you start to run. If you, I mean, just think about it, Mr. Bunch.
You're
if
absolutely
you're scared
correct.
to death of somebody, you are large, aren't you, sir?
Yes.
You're scared to death of this man, and you probably had to swing up to hit him, right?
No, he was coming towards me. I didn't have a second to react. He hit both of them, turns towards me, and he was down at my level, ready to hit me too. And that's when I just immediately hit him and ran. I didn't have a second to react. I couldn't believe, I was in amazement that this guy ran from the front door, ran out and hit the girl that was only 115 pounds and slammed her to the ground. I couldn't believe it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have a permanent disability. My finger is permanently bent.
Is that the hand that you hit him with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcus Bunch wants his medical bills paid after getting punched by a Cowboy Boogie Company bouncer. Owner Jack Wade says his bouncer has a different story.
Now, you, sir, weren't there that evening.
I was there, but I didn't
But
see
you didn't
the
witness
incident,
this. But you did.
no. Yes.
And who are you?
I'm Travis Kelly. I was also there.
Well, let's hear. Stand up here. You first.
Okay. I was at work one night, and I remember this night. It was a Wednesday night, which is usually pretty busy. And Travis, who works the pit, called me down.
What's the pit?
That's where, in front of the DJ booth. That's where we have the platform where we just allow girls to dance.
Okay.
He says he got 2 guys on there that won't get off. So we asked him to leave. To get off the platform. And when one of the guys was coming down, he shouldered Travis. Okay? So in other words, he kind of assaulted him with his shoulder. So we wanted to take him outside just to talk to him, which is standard practice.
That is not
We don't
true.
immediately throw people out. So in the course of escorting them to the door, they become very unruly. So we had to grab them, restrain them, and protect the other customers and get them outside. When we get them to the front door, I have to keep the door open. And one of the guys was coming at me, and I put my arm out to stop him. They wanted to come back in the club, and they were coming after me. So I'm just trying to protect myself. And then the girl came after me, at me. Obviously, if I hit her, I would have killed her, obviously.
So what'd you do to her?
I just, she ran into my arm and
she
fell
fell
down.
back?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of these guys, somebody hit me from the side. I didn't even see it coming. Just it really was nothing. And then he took off running.
Well, that was him.
That
in
was,
case you
I
didn't know.
guess it was. Yeah, it didn't even hurt. It's like somebody slapped me in the face.
So he took off running, and what happened?
I don't have an answer for you there. But I saw the police down there. They were down there talking to the police. And
Nobody
they wanted to
chased
arrest
him?
me. I didn't see. I just got hit me in the eye. So.
Did you chase him?
No, I didn't chase him.
I don't know who it was. It was a bunch of guys in red shirts. That's all I know. They had a lot of employees wearing red shirts, just like the one he's wearing today.
Judge, all I know is I was the only one that was injured. Had any type of injury.
That's
And it
not
wasn't
true.
a big deal. It wasn't a big deal to me. you know.
Well, you said he were hit on the side of the face and didn't even hurt. And you can't identify either one of these two people as being people who chased you?
No, ma'am, I can't. I was running for my life.
And all you saw was some people who were beating you up in red shirts?
I saw the red shirts. They stand out.
Red shirts?
Red shirts.
Okay. You want to stand up here,
Yeah.
sir?
I'd like to say, first of all, when he said we got off of the bar, the platform, nobody, neither one of us put a shoulder in either one of them.
And
then we went back to the table.
I really didn't think that you did. Didn't you see the look on my face?
No, we didn't.
But I want to know this, gentlemen. Have you been to this establishment before?
That was my first time there.
And
I
yours?
had been there before.
Well, if you were there before, you sort of knew the rules. Only girls are up on the platform.
I
Why
didn't
did
know
you...
that was the rules.
Well, you took a look up on the platform. How many people were up there?
A lot of people up there.
All girls?
It was a very popular song. No,
Just
I don't
a
know if it was all girls or not, but there was a lot of people up there.
But it looked like all girls. You just told me, sir, a moment ago that you were offended because in this country there shouldn't be any difference between boys and girls, and you should be allowed to be dancing up there too. So that's why you were offended.
After they had pulled us down, we looked out there and said, why aren't those people being kicked down also? And that's when he said, because they're all girls.
You mean you couldn't tell that before he told you that they were all girls?
I honestly didn't take a number. I didn't count them and say, look, there was all girls up there. Let's go up there and dance with all these girls.
And what about you?
Yeah, I saw a couple of girls up there, but I'm a guy. And maybe I wanted a date, so I got up there. But the fact of the matter is, when he grabbed me, 2 guys around my ankles, 2 guys around my wrist, another guy choking me. You know, if they would have asked me to leave or told me, you know, and threatened me, like, if you don't leave, I'm going to throw you out. But they didn't say that. They just came over, they threw me down, and then when they got to the door, they threw me past the umbrella.
Did you sue them?
Did I? No.
How come?
The lawyer said he didn't have a case.
Just a second.
At the time, I had, and it was a car accident. I went to a lawyer. I explained it to the lawyer. He checked into it with him, said they went bankrupt, so there was no case. You know,
so you didn't sue them?
So no, I did not sue them.
This place is making a ton of money. They have advertisements every night. They have a lot of people there, and yet they're in bankruptcy.
Listen to me, sir. I'm asking him some questions. He's a perfectly intelligent man. He can answer these questions himself without assistance from you. Your date. You had a date that night?
Yes, it was my ex-girlfriend.
Was she thrown to the ground?
Yeah, he hit her with the palm of his hand very hard. She walked up.
Like this?
Yeah, with all his force. He hit her. She flew back at least 5 feet, and she's comes up to my chin. 110 pounds. He had no reason to hit her. He had no reason to hit me. He struck me first. For no reason. I walked back up. I asked if I could get my hat. He said no. We had an exchange of words. I stand back. I step back. He came at me, hit me. Then my girlfriend stand next to me. He proceeded to hit her with the palm of his hand. She had damage to her chest. She went to the emergency room also.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If I hit her like she said I did, like this, I would have killed her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcus Bunch says he was acting in self-defense when he hit a Cowboy Boogie Company bouncer.
Now, Mr. Bunch, you are in the difficult position, sir, of having thrown the initial punch in this case and then seeking damages. And seeking damages against somebody that you cannot identify other than red shirts. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Well,
I
that's a
do think,
problem.
though, that this is his responsibility as a business owner to interview his personnel, to make sure that they're qualified, to train them properly so that they do not lose their temper.
You have 2 problems, sir. A, you threw the first punch at his employee, and B, you cannot, to my satisfaction, identify his employees as the people who beat you up. It seems strange to me that somebody who was badly injured, as you say you were, did not take themselves down to the police precinct on the very next day and demand to file a complaint against the people who you say assaulted you so that they could be arrested and prosecuted for assault. You clearly knew enough how to file a civil proceeding, which requires the same kind of acumen.
I'm just learning this. I'm only 25 years old. I wasn't aware of my options. We tried to file a complaint against these people when the police were there, and they would not allow us to do so.
I don't believe that that's true.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can't file a complaint against him, sir, because I just told you. I'm not repeating it. You assaulted him.
We wanted him arrested for assault.
Who's we?
Myself and Michelle Chippy.
I'm not interested in them.
Okay.
Their case is not before me. They chose not to sue anybody. Only you chose to sue them.
Now, I can establish that they were bouncers that worked for this club, that were the ones that came out.
I'm prepared to hear you.
Okay, because in the police report, it states that, and I can give this to you. And
I'd like to see the police report.
And it established that they were the bouncers that detained me until the police arrived.
Just a second. Well, the first thing that you say is that you've outlined for me. It says, he ran but was caught by unknown security employees and held pending our arrival. You've outlined that, right? And that statement is attributed to you. It says, Bunch said. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
So then you said that. It's the same thing that you just said to me here. You indicated to me that this report would prove that it was employees who did that. So far, this is just your statement to the police. Am I correct?
So far, yes.
Okay. Who's something SSMAN?
Suspect Hammond, which is John Hammond here.
That's you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The only thing this says is Suspect Hammond related the same information and added that they chased down Suspect Bunch after Bunch fled after striking Judas, that's you.
That's me.
In the face. Is
Yes,
that
Your
right?
Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Did you see that whole incident where they were beating him up, sir?
I couldn't see. I saw them chasing after him. I did not see them beat him. I saw them chase him.
Ah, okay. Who's they?
The bouncers of the Cowboy Boogie.
Who are not here?
Who are not here.
Okay.
But if they were here, I could tell you who they were.
Okay. But you didn't see any of them assaulting him?
Not behind it. No, I did not. Not out in the parking lot.
Okay.
We were on the ground behind cars,
Yeah,
Your
I
Honor.
couldn't see behind
Okay.
I was very far away from the front door at that point.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to explain to me. I'm asking whether he saw anything, sir. Seeing something gives me information. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This doesn't prove to me, sir, any of the things that you said that it was going to prove. We're still faced with a situation where you assaulted his employee first. You punched him in the face.
As a direct response to a threat. I
No,
thought I was going to
I don't believe that,
Your
sir.
Honor.
What I believe happened was you saw your two friends getting shoved hard. I don't believe he punched the girl. I believe, even according to this witness,
Can I
he
say
pushed
something,
her.
Your Honor?
You say nothing. Say nothing. You've told me your story, Mr. Bunch.
Can I show you the push that he did? Can I show you
To
how
whom?
he pushed her? Michelle Chippy.
It doesn't make any difference, sir.
He went like this and like that in her chest. If you call that a push, I call that a punch. Whether it's an open fist or a closed fist,
Then you
that's a
punched him in the face.
Because he turned towards
I
me.
don't believe that, sir. That's
Your
sir.
Honor,
What I
I'm
believe.
not a fighter. I do not have a record for fighting. I've never been arrested for such. I'm not a fighter. I wanted to get out of there. He came towards me
Sir,
before
you
I
started,
had a
listen to
second.
me, Mr. Bunch. You
Yes,
started
ma'am.
this whole problem, sir, when they told you to get off the dance floor, and you started by saying to a man who's probably twice your size, okay, hoss.
We got down.
Just a second. Just a second. That's what you just told me you did, right? And after there was an altercation, and I'm not so sure whether you all acted absolutely appropriately, you know, in making a big deal out of this thing. But there's no question that you hit him first.
But
And
he
I
hit
don't
two
believe...
other people first.
Sir. He didn't hit her.
Yes, he did.
I had enough. Mr. Bunch, this happened a year ago. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
This happened a year ago.
Yes, Your Honor. And I have a permanent disability. My finger is permanently bent because
Is that
of this.
just a second. Mr. Bunch, is that the hand that you hit him with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go.
Judge Judy continues.
Yeah, it's case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Sandoval versus Gentry. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Sandoval, according to your papers, sir, you and the defendant dated briefly and were romantically involved, were sexually intimate.
Yes.
And there came a time when you broke up.
Yes.
And during that time, you were pregnant, had a baby. Is that right?
Yes.
And you called him and told him that you would have the baby.
Yes. Yeah.
And invited him to come over to see the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you said to him?
Yes, when we were at my house, I had told him that I had been with another person, but I was pretty sure that he had been the father because I had used a condom with the other guy that I was with. So I let him know straight up that I had been with another guy. So.
Did she tell you that, sir?
No.
Hmm? She never told you that?
No, she did not.
That doesn't make sense, madam, that you would tell him that when you invite him over to see the baby and say, listen, this could be yours and it couldn't be yours. In any event, she told you that the baby was yours?
That's correct.
And at that time, according to these papers, you weren't living close to each other.
That's correct.
Where were you living, sir?
I was living in Stockton with my mother.
And where were you living?
I was living in Hayward with my parents.
And how far is that away?
About 50 miles.
And you moved?
Yes, I moved to be near the child.
Did you take an apartment?
I rented a house with my friend.
And you were visiting the baby?
Yes.
How often?
About at least 3 times a week.
Would you go over to her parents' house?
Yes, I would.
Is that right?
I did.
A couple times, yes.
So he would come over and visit with the baby. Were you present when he visited with the baby?
Yes.
Did you hold the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did you feed the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did he?
Yes.
Did you take the baby out?
Yes, I did. Sometimes with her, sometimes away from her.
And for how long did this go on?
From the time she was about 3.5 weeks till she was about 5.5 months.
So for 5.5 months, for 5 months, you spent a lot of time with the baby.
Yes.
And then there came a time when you were called into court for child support.
No, that's not true.
What happened?
I initiated court proceedings against her because she would not give me any access to the child whatsoever.
Well, what happened that stopped this free flow of visitation that you had?
We began having problems arguing over money and things because she didn't think that I was trying hard enough to look for work.
So you were arguing over something?
Yes.
Did there come a time when you told him that he wasn't to see the baby anymore?
Yes, he was harassing me at work. He kept calling me. I told him not to call me in case of an emergency. He called me anyway, over and over again.
What would he call you about?
What are you doing? I'm at work. I'm working, you know?
Yes.
And I said, you know, just please call me, you know, if there's an emergency, and he would call me just any time.
Well, what did that have to do with the baby?
And then he would go over the babysitter's house. You know, she asked him to call first. He wouldn't call first. He just started showing up over there. It's just, it's just a bunch of things that just came down to it. I don't.
So you told him that he couldn't see the baby anymore. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to court.
Yes, I did.
And when you went to court, you had a blood test.
Yes, and it excluded me.
And the blood test said that you could not possibly be the biological father of this child.
That's correct.
And then what happened, sir? Because that's not the only thing that you're suing her for, the fact that she misled you.
I got served papers at my aunt's house in March, on March 20th, and I received the papers by April.
And that was the state calling you into court for child support.
Correct.
Because you had listed his name as the father.
And the welfare department, they have you put down.
No, listen to me. Just answer my question.
Yes.
You had listed his name as the father.
And the other guy also. They have you put down whoever the father could be on a child support paper. And so, you know, you put down both of them and they go from there.
So you were called into court again, sir?
Yes. And I was told that they would start detaching my wages, taking my taxes. And I sent them copies of this paternity test, and I mean, they wouldn't hear it. They said because there was 2 parties that took the test that I had to resubmit it again.
So you took the test again?
Yes, I did.
And it again excluded you?
Yes, correct.
Did you have to pay for the blood test?
The second one, no, I did not.
Did you have to pay for the first one?
Yes, I did.
How much did you have to pay for the first one?
I believe it was $440.
Did you have to pay for a lawyer?
No, I represented myself completely.
Did you have any other expenses, sir, as a result of this proceeding? Out-of-pocket expenses?
Out of my pocket?
Yes.
Court fees?
How much were the court fees?
$370.
Anything else?
No.
Now, for my own information, Miss Gentry, what happened when they blood tested the other man who you claimed that you named?
They're still trying to find him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So as painful as it is right now to you, taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Rich Sandoval says when a court-ordered paternity test proved he was not the father of Sandy Gentry's baby, he sued for emotional stress. Sandy says she made an honest mistake and is being harassed by Mr. Sandoval.
You working now?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
I'm trying to establish where I'm living and, you know, I'm trying to get a job, yes.
Where were you working before?
Just odd jobs through a temp agency.
So why did you stop working?
Because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle him. He came to my work, or someone came to my work, and I just couldn't take the harassment anymore.
What harassment?
From him. And I just couldn't take it anymore. What was going on?
Well, explain to me what was going on, Miss Gentry. I don't understand what was going on.
Well, it's just he would harass me, and he would...
That's a conclusion. How did he harass you?
He would call me, he would threaten me.
How did he threaten you?
He threatened me and my friend over the phone.
What did he say, madam?
That he was, if I didn't watch out, I was going to be shot, things like that.
Did you ever say that to her? You know, the problem, Miss Gentry, is when a court gets the impression that somebody's a liar, they question everything that they say. Now, you told this man that he was the father of this child. He believed you.
I did tell him that there was another guy, that there was a possibility that the other guy might have been the father, but...
I don't believe that. It doesn't strike me as being accurate, madam, that you gave him any suggestion whatsoever that this was not his child, because if you did, it is unlikely that he would have left his mother's house and moved to be closer to the baby, that he would have gone over and spent days with this baby, bonding with this baby, feeding her according to you, holding her, taking her out, taking her to... You're his mother?
Yes.
Did he used to bring the baby to your house?
Yes.
Visiting a grandmother, getting this whole family involved with this baby. If you had said to him, listen, there's a chance the baby's not yours, doesn't make sense. That's why I think you're a liar. And I think you're a liar when you say that he threatened to shoot you. And I do. I do.
I have my witness right here.
Oh, yes,
When
step up.
Yeah.
Step up. Let me hear your witness. Who are you?
I'm Gina.
Gina what?
Gina Ito.
How do you know her?
My brother is dating her, and
your brother's dating her.
Through the
Another genius.
Through the times that she moved out of her mother's house and was living with me for a while.
What was she living with you for?
To get back on her feet.
But was she dating your brother at the time?
Uh-huh.
What do you want to tell me about these threats, madam? You have anything to tell me firsthand?
For threats, yeah, he has called. He said, you better watch your back. I will get you.
Okay. And under what circumstance did he say that to you?
He called up.
Called up for what?
For no reason. Harassing. He called up for no reason.
Was this child living in your house?
Yes, she was.
Sit down. Listen, Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
When you had sexual relations with this lady, did you use protection?
No, I didn't.
Dumb.
I know.
Very dumb. You almost deserve what you get if you don't use protection. You know?
True.
What you got was a story that you had a child, but you could have gotten was a lot worse.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
And I think she's as manipulative as can be, because she let you see the baby, then she stopped you from seeing the baby, she found a new boyfriend, she moved out of her mother's house, her mother probably was fed up with her, she moved into the sister's house of the boyfriend. Sounds to me as if your baby's going to need a lot of luck. Baby's got a father who's off someplace else. We don't know who he is. Right now, we're in the third relationship that I know about. Him, the one who's in the wind, who maybe is the father, and this new boyfriend. So what are you suing for, sir?
I'm suing for loss of wages from when I left in February up until present time now.
Now listen.
The cost that it took me to relocate from my mother's house to move down there to be near this child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you're saying, it does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen.
And later today,
there are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
You're suing her for a lot of money. You want $5,000 in damages. And I don't think that there's probably any way that you're going to get $5,000, but I think she certainly has to pay you for every bit of out-of-pocket expenses that you have, plus something for punitive damages, because I think that she caused you a great deal of heartache.
Yes, she did.
You shaking your head no?
I'm just... Huh? I just don't understand why you don't believe that I didn't tell him that.
Why don't I believe it? It's not logical. You used him for the first few months until you found somebody else. And then when you found somebody else, that's her brother, then you decided to cut him off. And when you decided to cut him off because you were too busy with another social event in your life, then he started to call and he wanted to see the baby, you were cutting him off, so he was forced at that point to go to the family court to establish his parental rights and establish visitation. That all sounds very, very logical, and what you're saying it does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen. The truth of the matter is, Mr. Sandoval, it was a good thing that she stopped you from seeing the baby, because you could have gone on for 5 years.
That's correct.
Been paying all kinds of child support, allowed to further bond with this baby, and you would never have known that she wasn't yours. You could have gone on for 20 years, and all of a sudden you needed a blood transfusion. You take her blood, and they say to you, sorry, this baby that you've loved for 20 years really isn't yours. So as painful as it is right now to you, it was only 5 months worth of pain at your age, and it taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back, to your right, please.
I guess he just wants money. I don't know what he wants.
No, justice. There's a difference.
Whatever.
And now the next case.
All parties on Light versus Betts. Step forward, please.
Nancy Light is suing Ann Betts on behalf of her two children, 17-year-old Alexis and 15-year-old Aaron. Alexis and Aaron claim they invested $600 in a rave dance concert. They say they got ripped off and want their money back.
Who is Alexis?
That'd be me.
And you are how old?
I'm 17.
You're her mom?
Yeah.
And her brother?
Yeah.
Why don't the two of you sit down for a moment and just leave Alexis right here? All right. According to these papers, you were planning a rave party. Yes. Is that pronounced correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to tell me what that is in a minute. And the plaintiff invested $600 in this party, and she received for her $600 $250 at the party's conclusion. She's suing you for the rest. Is that right?
Correct.
So who's going to tell me first what a rave party is?
It's an all-ages, non-alcoholic dance event. It's music that usually we bring lighting and sound in, and goes from 8 p.m. until 6 or 7 a.m. Spend anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 on a party, and it's to provide like all ages of children with things to do, kids and adults. And it's not a club scene; it's not an alcoholic thing.
Is that what you do for a living? Plan these parties?
No, it's just an extra thing that I do.
Okay. What prompted you to solicit funds from somebody who was a minor?
She wanted to invest in the party.
How did you know her?
She comes to parties.
Is that what happened?
We were friends
we were somewhat close friends going into this, and I guess March before the party, she asked my brother and I, actually my brother first, if he would like to invest, which was more like a loan, not really an investment. It was a loan that we would be getting paid back, because she knew that my mom was weary about letting us loan her this money because it's a large investment.
And according to your answer, at least, your defense to this lawsuit is twofold, right? You say, one, the party didn't make enough money, and second, because she's a minor, you couldn't enter into a valid contract with her.
We didn't have anything in writing. It was an investment, and when you make money, you make. When you lose, you lose.
I have a written statement here from Ann that was given to me the night after the party. I don't know, do you want to see this, or do you want me to read it to you, what it says?
Is that something you wrote to her?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Well, read me the pertinent part.
It will only take a few weeks of busting overtime and work and living clean, and you'll have you'll have my word that I will have your money back ASAP. I am only sorry things didn't work out any easier. I will pay every penny back plus some interest. Thank you so much for your help and participation. Sincerely, Ann.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, the other guy who was involved in the party stole about $3,000 from the party, and I was forced to pay back all the investment, which was like, he didn't pay any of it back, and I've paid all of it back but about $200. And since this has been written, I only owe them $200 now. There's another $150 that, of course, wasn't receipted, but she knows that I gave it to her after the last event.
Yeah, she did.
So that all she owes you now is $200?
Yeah.
All right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Betts, I wanted to find out what this rave party was, and I wanted to find out what your story was. Bottom line is, your second premise in defense of this lawsuit is wholly 100% incorrect under the law. When you enter into a contract with a minor, you do so at your own peril. You knew she was a minor, that she is incapable of entering into a valid contract, whether it be an investment or a loan. Therefore, anyone who enters into a contract with a minor, there is no contract. That money has to be paid back to her, because dealing with her, even though she's pretty smart, pretty savvy, and she sounds like she doesn't take any baloney from anybody, it's no different dealing with her than it would be dealing with someone who was 8 years old in the eyes of the law. So you couldn't go over to somebody, an 8-year-old who was running a lemonade stand on the corner and say, would you like to invest $25 in my rave party? You can't do that. So you owe her the $200. Be smart. You have to learn something before you involve yourself in business.
Well, yeah. I trusted her, though, and that's
It's not a question of trust. It's a question of knowing what you know. At your age, you don't know a lot. Right?
Right.
You don't know a lot. You don't know a lot about business. You don't know a lot about people. Your mother probably does. But you don't.
She knows a lot.
That's why the law protects children from sometimes unscrupulous people who prey on young children to take their money out of their savings account, to take their money out of their piggy bank, to take their money out of their college fund, and invest in all kinds of harebrained schemes. There are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it? Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Found in the matter of Grant versus Grant. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Tell me your first name.
Robin.
And yours?
Maria.
How old are you, Robin?
11.
Maria?
9.
This is your dad. That's your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk to both of you, because I've read your papers. I'm going to talk to you sort of privately a little bit later. Okay?
Okay.
So what I would like you to do for now is, this is Officer Byrd.
Hello.
He's going to take you into my chambers for a minute to sit down and wait for me, because I want to talk to your mom and dad for a minute.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Miss Grant, would you step up here, please? Mr. and Mrs. Grant, from what I gather from your papers, you were married in 1975.
Correct.
And these are your two girls.
Yes.
You're now divorced.
No.
Dependent.
Separated.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And you lived in New York most of your married life, is that right?
Yes. All of our married life was in New York.
When did you separate?
November of 1986.
No, 96.
I'm sorry, 96.
So you were married for 21 years before you separated.
Correct.
And I gather that this separation was not a happy one. They usually are not. But that you left New York, Mrs. Grant. Is that
went
right?
to Hawaii. We resided in Hawaii.
Who resided in Hawaii?
Me and the children.
You left your husband?
Oh, yeah.
Why did you decide to move to Hawaii?
Well, I had family there, and I wanted distance. So
Why did you want distance?
it was a horrible relationship. It became threatening on many levels, and I thought the further, the better.
How did you feel as if that impacted on the children?
It had to be negative and positive. It was positive because it took them out of a very harmful situation.
How harmful, Mrs. Grant?
Very harmful.
Was it a physically abusive relationship?
Oh, yeah.
When you say, oh, yeah, you say that very mildly.
Yeah, I can say that now because I'm not in danger anymore. Yes, it was.
Was any of this violence in front of the children?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
No, it's not true.
Well, if I asked your girls whether they ever saw you being physically abusive towards your wife, what do you think they would say?
They would say no.
Okay. Did you get permission from the court to leave the jurisdiction?
Oh, yeah.
I gave permission for the children to
The
leave
courts
with
gave.
her. No, it was my permission that did it.
Why, Mr. Grant, did you give permission for your wife to go so many thousands of miles away with your children?
For my children to go through this, I couldn't let them go through any more court litigation, so it was me that said, let her have full custody and let the children be with her.
Do you have other children, Mr. Grant?
No.
The reason that I'm asking to speak to you first before I speak to the girls is the girls want their things back. That's what this lawsuit is about. I don't know exactly what things they want, and I assume they're going to tell me. But it's always a very sad thing when children are brought into a domestic situation between their parents. There's a saying that always sticks in my mind, Mrs. Grant and Mr. Grant, and that is you're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other when you separate. Children usually need two parents.
They should do.
If they've estranged themselves for whatever reason, either because one parent encourages it or not, they usually grow up eventually resenting the parent that caused the estrangement, and that could be either one of you. So, Mrs. Grant, I'm going to ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Let us assume that it was a miserable relationship with your husband. Mm-hmm. You think it's a good idea that your children should have negative feelings about him?
They're free to have whatever feelings they want to.
Well, you're the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant. So really children are pretty pliable, you know, and they take their lead from whoever is taking care of them.
No, I'm not going to push the children either way. If they have negative feelings or negative thoughts, they can vent those. If they don't, they don't.
Okay. Well, what things do your daughters want from their father?
What they really want are the things from their bedroom, their baby pictures, videos, stamp collections, telescopes, microscopes, things of that nature.
Well, baby pictures and things, he says he wants to keep because he likes to have them. Mm. And I can understand that. You can make copies of those and send them to the girls, right?
Yes.
That's an easy. The other things are just things, microscope, stamp collection, those things. You have no problem with returning those to the girls, do you?
No, I have no problem.
But it's the pictures and the videos.
It's the pictures and the videos.
And That's also, in this age of technology, you can make
Also
copies,
duplicate.
keep one for yourself, and then see that the girls get their pictures and stuff so that they also can look at times when they were little and maybe you were all a family and living happily together. All right, I would like to speak to your children. So why don't the two of you have a seat?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he
He is
loves
not. You're
you. Is it important for you to hear it from him?
no, because it's a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant is suing her ex-husband on behalf of their two children, Marie and Robin, because he won't return their belongings. Colden says he's being prohibited from seeing his children.
Hello, gorgeous girls.
Hello.
I understand you two are very bright. First of all, you're very tall
Yeah.
and very lovely.
Thank you.
So you know who I am, and I want to find out a little bit more about you. I've just had a talk with your mom and your dad. And it's always sad when parents get a divorce, right?
Depending, I don't think it's that sad because they were arguing and everything. So it's not sad that they're not arguing anymore.
To me, it was just about happy.
It's about happy. Why is that?
I don't have to go through a bunch of arguing and screaming and stuff like that.
So there was a lot of that in your house. But my sense is that your mother loves you and your father loves you. You're their only children. What things do you want your dad to give you back?
Well, I want my baby pictures.
Okay, let me tell you what your dad said about your pictures and the videos and stuff. Your dad's going to make copies of all the things because he would like to have them too, to see his children. You're his two children. He doesn't have any other kids. He loves you. And then you have a stamp collection.
Yeah.
Whose stamp collection?
Both of ours.
And he's going to send that back to you.
That's good.
And the telescope, is that what you want?
Oh,
And your dad said he was going to send that back to you.
that's good.
Okay? So let's take care of that.
And our coin collection.
And your coin collection. Very valuable coin collection?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, my mom traveled like all over the world, and she got different like kinds of dollars from different places and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, is it your mom's coin collection or yours?
And she gave it to
Us.
Well, let me tell you this. It's really your mom's coin collection, if she was collecting it. There are certain things that are yours. There are certain things that may be a problem between your mother and your father. I don't want to get involved with that, and I don't think you ought to get involved with that. All right, so let's finish that. This is over. So let's talk honestly, the two of us, the three of us, two of you and one of me. You live very far away from your father.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you two girls ever witness any time when either of your parents put their hands on each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did?
Yep.
Tell me about it.
Well, once my dad tried twisting my mom's arm and stuff, so I stopped.
Yes. What else?
Well, sometimes they just get tussling matches sometimes. Tussling matches sometimes.
The two of them?
Yeah. And Colton's always trying to like talk over her and and stuff like you're brainwashing them and stuff like that.
That happens. You know your mom loves you.
Yeah.
So does your father. I think you know that. I'm not so sure that you understand that. He really loves you. You question that?
Yeah.
He loves you.
Well, my true feelings are that I don't really want to be around him anymore.
Why?
The way he acts.
Like what? You have to tell me.
Okay. The way he acts is like ignorant.
How?
I can't explain it.
Let's say something to you. You know, the truth of the matter is, ladies, just amongst us three ladies, sometimes guys don't always do the right thing just because they're older. Sometimes parents don't do the right thing. Mothers or fathers, even because they're parents. And you two gals are very smart. So in addition to being smart, you should be tolerant. Just because you're a parent doesn't make you perfect. Your father has disappointed you, right? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to not necessarily accept it and not necessarily understand it, but just say, he's my father. And I know he's made mistakes, but I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he loves you.
He's not. You're telling.
Is it important for you to hear it from him?
No, because it's a lie.
No, it's not. He loves you. He really loves you. Would you spend a little time with him today?
No.
Hmm?
No, I've been with him for 8 years, and that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing. They're very angry with you, sir. Your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant claims her ex-husband, Colden Grant, won't return their children's possessions. Colden says since Robin won't let him see his kids, he wants to keep the items.
Why don't you step back up, please?
May I sort of view these, please?
Ms. Grant,
Your Honor?
I am not condoning any act of domestic violence that may have occurred in your home. I will tell you from what I heard from the children, there was only one instance that your younger daughter told me about when your husband twisted your arm. While I'm not condoning that, we're not talking about an ongoing pattern of physical violence that the children witnessed. They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing, shoving. They're very angry with you, sir. Your girls are very angry with you. And Mrs. Grant, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions to you. In the short time that I had to speak with your daughters, they are so fixed, although your older daughter clearly is sad about it, at not having contact with their father, that I think it almost would border on the criminal if you did not see to it that your children were engaged in some sort of therapy. Because I believe it is a tremendous mistake for children to be estranged from a non-custodial parent the way these children have been estranged from their father. Terrible mistake. But it's a mistake for girls not to want to receive mail from their father, not to want to communicate with him at all. That says something to me about the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant, because I've seen enough children of separation and divorce where there is a lot more domestic violence that goes on, and those children still want to have contact with their father. These children, for some reason, do not, and they were not able to articulate to me any really valid reason for it. So I must attribute that to things that they've heard at home. I think it's a tremendous mistake. I think in the long run you will be hurting your children and hurting them dramatically if you don't change your attitude with regard to him. He's their father. You picked him. You were married to him for 21 years. You were together for 21 years. You made 2 children. These are the only 2 children that you have. And if he is less of a husband or less of a father than your children would like, that's it. I've tried to explain to them he still loves them. They have to feel as if he still loves them. They don't feel that way, and they must be getting that from someplace other than him. So I think you're making a big mistake if you don't encourage your children in that direction and not say to me at age 9 that you're going to let her make up her own mind what she wants to do. Okay?
And I hope that Robin's anger stopped filtering over to the children. It's really her anger that have my children feeling this way.
Well, I don't doubt that, sir, because I've very rarely seen children so fixed with basically what I've heard in the back without the kind of history that would suggest that, that they have a good and valid reason for it. The marriage is over, it's over.
Did Maria relate to you that whenever they want to speak to him that I allow them to call? They stopped calling because he kept lying to them.
Miss Grant, what I'm telling you is there's a difference between children asking to call their father and feeling that they are betraying their mother if they're asking to call their father because she's so angry. Just listen to me, Mrs. Grant. You're shaking your head no. I've been in this business for a quarter of a century. I've probably seen 10,000 separations and divorces. They're all not so different. And children feel that if they ask to contact, communicate with the non-custodial parent, when there's so much anger on this side, that in some way they're being disloyal to their mother. So it's not a question of I let them call whenever they want to call. They have to be reinforced constantly with the idea that their father may have shortcomings, but he loves you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Grant, you have promised me, sir, that you will return the children's things to them.
Yes.
That is their telescope, their stamp collection. I don't know about this coin collection that they spoke about. If you find it in your heart to return it to them, that's terrific. They certainly would like to have their pictures back, so you're going to make copies of all of those things and see to it that they get them. Return their things. It's stupid to have their things. Right?
Well, those are the only memories I have. I have no contact.
Okay.
So right now...
Well, but you know, you don't get warm from looking at a telescope, sir.
No.
So you have to return their things. It's important to them. So you can't be angry and also let that flow down to the children. It's a start. I don't know what will happen eventually. Mrs. Grant, your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father. By the time they're 20, 25 years old, it will be a void for them. And you should be protective of that. I think that you love them.
It's a void now.
Well, then you have to do something about it. You're their mother. You've moved them halfway across the world. So it's your responsibility to shorten that distance in whatever way you can, because they're going to have a void as adults. If they cannot accept the fact that good, bad, shortcomings, he's done things that disappoint them, this is their father. And if they don't feel as if he loves them, they're not going to grow up strong. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will...
Case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson Chadez versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Are you two folks married?
No.
Dating?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No.
I have co-complaints. One $4,000 filed by you, the other $500
Yes.
filed by you, and you are claiming that the defendant, while in the company of several others, assaulted you by throwing bottles which shattered on you.
Correct.
And the car.
And the car that you were in. And according to your complaint, sir, you were in a car with a lot of other people.
Yes, limo bus.
A bus. A limo bus. So why don't you first tell me about this limo bus, and then we'll get to what happened with it.
It was mine and my twin brother's 21st birthday, and we rented it so that all our friends could gather together, all go as one, no one would drink and drive, and then we'd go bar hopping.
And you did that?
Yes.
What time did you board this bus?
Approximately around 8.
And how many bars had you been to before you came on the plaintiffs?
1.
What time did this occur?
About 11:30.
You hit more than one bar between 8 and 11:30?
No, ma'am.
So you stayed in that bar for how long?
A couple hours.
Okay.
We also, I mean, we drove around. It's a nice bus. I mean, you like to spend time in it. It has a VCR, a sound system, everything like that. People can dance, walk around. It's very large.
And how many people were in this bus?
Approximately 25, give or take a few.
And you paid for the bus?
No.
And they...
Everyone pitched in the same amount, about approximately $20.
Now, you spent a couple of hours in a bar, one bar, you said. Is that right?
Yes.
So you made another stop or two on the way. Go to a liquor store?
Yes.
How many liquor stores did you go to?
Okay, we stopped off at a supermarket when we first entered the bus, got some alcohol, drinks, whatnot, went to the, went to the first bar, spent some time there, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. And then we went to the next liquor store.
So you bought liquor twice?
Yes.
So everyone was pretty well blotto?
No.
Well, when we ran into the defendant here, they were pretty much intoxicated.
Well, why don't you tell me how, unfortunately, you came upon this birthday party?
Well, we had just come home from Barbara's parents' house. It was about 11:30 at night. The only entranceway into our house is through an alley. At that point, we were living together. Now we're not. There was a limo bus parked blocking the entire alleyway. It was parked illegally. People were outside of the bus urinating on the buildings, and they had open containers. We waited a few minutes. We honked, tried to get them to move up. They didn't comply. At that point, Barbara got out of the vehicle and asked one of the members to move.
Somebody that was outside of the bus?
Correct.
Where was the driver of the bus?
We were at the rear end of the bus. We approached the first person we saw.
The driver of the bus was in there the whole time.
Just a second. So you approached Barbara, the first person that you saw at the rear of the bus, and said, could you please move?
Yeah, asked very politely, and he just slurred in my face and told me to screw off, go around, we're not doing it. And I just didn't know what to do and asked him to get out of the car, which he did.
Your Honor?
Sit. So did you get out
When she entered the vehicle again, and I could tell that they told her no, I then got out of the car. Now, keep
What's
in
your
mind,
first name?
John.
John! My first issue with you, sir, is what?
Couldn't tell you.
Can you tell him?
I think so.
You came across a bunch of people that you saw outside urinating on buildings, John. You don't send your girlfriend out of the car to tell them to move. You get out of the car to tell them to move.
This was, we didn't see all this until we got out of the car, till both of us were out of the car.
I mean, I don't see late at night you going by yourself to this group of people. You know.
There was a lot of girls, too, a lot of young girls around with them, too. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of partiers, so we didn't think anything of it. We asked politely. When they were rude and everything, that's when we just got back in our car and waited.
Who did you ask?
Hey, listen to me.
We never got off the bus. We never, my cousin, this is my cousin right
This
here.
is my witness.
And my teammate, and we never got off the bus ever.
Did I ask you a question?
Well, I can't stand listening to people laugh.
Just a second, did I ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When Barbara entered the vehicle, I got out of the vehicle, went up to the first person I saw, and said, hey, this is the only way to get to our house. Can you please move up the bus? When I got out of the vehicle, of course, other members of the party came up. They see a guy coming out, automatically everybody's instincts comes into play, and then when they create a confrontation. As soon as he said no, I threw up my hands and said, okay. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go up to a whole group of guys and pick a fight with them.
So what
Two
did
or
you
three,
do?
yeah, whole group, no. At that point, we got back in the vehicle and waited. This is a very busy street. We have a large police force that patrols the area. I figured, hey, we'll get in the car, a cop's going to come by. These people are going to get busted. They're plastered. No cop came by. We waited about 2-3 minutes. People started getting back in the bus. It pulled up. At that point, we said, great. Pulled into the alleyway, go up, I'd say, about 50 feet to our fence, which you have to get out of the car to unlock the padlock to get into our driveway. When I exited the car to unlock the gate, I heard, hey, you want to start something? I turned to my left. I saw a group of guys coming at me with bottles in hand. As soon as I saw this group approaching us, I turned to Barbara and I said, get in the car now. At that point, she looked at me, eye contact, a bottle flew right past her face. Hit the car, exploded. Dove into the car, and we gunned it. As soon as we slammed the doors, the back window shattered from a beer bottle. Okay, bottles, plural, lots of bottles. We immediately sped up. I mean, I don't know how we didn't hit nothing going down our alley, going that fast. Went directly to 7-Eleven down the road and called 911. At that point, the bus pulls by, stops at the red light. All the members on the left-hand side of the bus roll down their window and laugh at us while we're standing there calling the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive.
And later today,
His mother doesn't want him to have this car. He knew that, which is why he kept it a secret. You took advantage of him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Wilson and Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride. Quincy claims he's innocent and not responsible for his friend's actions.
So the windshield was shattered. The back windshield was shattered
Correct.
on your car. And who was hit with the glass?
I was barely missed by it, and it hit my car door and shattered all over me. I had to take a shower and take all my, totally change and everything, because I had glass everywhere.
What was the damage to the car?
We have pictures.
We have
of the
pictures and
vehicle.
bills.
Now, once the police did arrive to come take our statement, they immediately got a priority call that there had been an altercation at a bar down the street, so they had to leave us. Well, it turns out the altercation was this member and his party had stopped at their next bar and assaulted 2 police officers.
Undercover cops or something. We don't know the whole story.
Okay, now I'll hear from you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I have empathy for the plaintiffs. What happened to was an awful thing. Should never happen to anyone. But I know for a fact they can't say I did it because I never even got off the bus. They can never pinpoint me out. I didn't get off the bus. I don't know what happened off the bus. I mean, even if the bus driver would have saw something, I mean, it was his responsibility to stay there.
Which bus company did you use?
It was, I believe it was called VIP limo buses.
When you called them, how many people did you say were going to be on the bus?
About approximately 25. You can get, the buses they have will fill 20 to 25, and I believe they even have one larger than that.
And when you called the bus company, did you have to reserve the bus with a credit card?
No.
When did you pay them?
You pay a deposit down,
Well,
and then when,
a
okay,
deposit-
then when they arrive, you pay the rest.
Well, I'm asking you.
Okay.
Did you pay the deposit in cash or a credit card?
Check.
A check?
Yes.
Yours or your brother's?
Mine.
Yours. So let me understand this, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
You rented the bus.
Yes.
You, sir, are absolutely right that these people can, in all probability, not say who it was who threw a bottle other than the group. Is that right?
That's correct.
That doesn't make you not responsible for this incident, sir.
It didn't even happen on the bus that I was responsible for.
Oh, it happened, sir.
It happened,
with
yes.
people. It happened with people that you invited to celebrate your birthday on a bus. You are still, sir, responsible for the behavior of those people. You. Because somebody is guilty and somebody is innocent. Now, they don't know who it is, but you, who arranged this party, are responsible for their losses because you are in the unique position, sir, if you are not drunk, to know who in that party got off the bus and who in that party actually damaged their property and attempted to assault them with what I consider a deadly instrument, which is a heavy beer bottle.
So,
not them. They're not in that unique position to know. You are.
So I'm responsible for everyone on the bus.
Every single person.
On the bus and off.
Every single.
Everyone who was also an adult.
Every single person that was partying with you at your birthday party, sir. You hired the bus.
I never got off the bus. I don't know.
Doesn't make any difference, sir.
It does to me.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive. Now, you have something that you believe is meaningful to this case that you wish to contribute?
Yeah, I do, Your Honor.
Sure.
First of all,
Step up right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. My cousin and myself never got off the bus at any point. And
didn't you understand what I just said?
I don't know how you can expect him to keep track of 25 people.
He invited them to his bus.
So how is he supposed to keep track of it if they're all adults?
If he can't keep track of them, then he shouldn't have invited them. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then he wouldn't be standing here today, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
He invited them to come on board for a drinking evening. He is therefore responsible for everything that transpires during the course of that evening. And one of the things that transpired was these people were put in fear of their lives. And if he wishes to turn around and do some detective work and try to figure out who it was that got off the bus and threw bottles at them and smashed their cars,
I hope he would.
That's no, you.
No, I
not
hope he
them.
would. My cousin doesn't want to be here. Do you think if he knew who did it, he would be taking the blame for this?
Well,
I can't
then
afford
he
to be
should
here.
have
I can't
been more
afford here.
selective about who he invited on the bus. And he should have seen to it that once the people on the bus started to drink a little too much and started to get a little out of control, he said to the bus driver, who he had hired, because you remember, he sent the check, he hired the bus. These people are a little too unruly. You better take us home because I don't know what's going to happen with them. You, sir, between these innocents and you, you're responsible. Judgment in this case is for one plaintiff in the amount, Barbara, in the amount of $1,000, and you, sir, the amount of $500 as requested. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go. Sorry. At the back door to your right, please.
These people do deserve money, but I believe I'm not the one responsible for it. I think I would have been much better off using a different defense, like the bloody glove defense. This is just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties on Schramm Snyder versus Blankenship. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Vera Schramm says her neighbor, 29-year-old Marcy Blankenship, ripped off her 15-year-old son Toby when she sold him a car that doesn't run.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
You went and bought a car from the defendant.
Yes.
Did you tell your parents?
No.
Why?
Because I thought they'd say no.
How much did you pay for this car?
$400.
Where'd you get the money from?
My bank account.
When did you find out that he had bought the car?
Almost a week later, on November 4th.
You're his mother?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that he bought the car.
I had called his friend's house to see if he was there. And while I was on the phone, the other parent said, by the way, I'm a little concerned about what we're going to do with Toby's car. I said, car? What do you mean car? Like vehicle? He says, oh yeah, it's parked out on the street, and what are we going to do for street sweeping day? I said, didn't know anything about it. Where did he get it? How long has he had it? So of course we went right over and visited the car and the parents, and I got the paperwork.
Now, you were keeping this a secret?
Yes.
How old were you when you bought the car?
15.
How did you find this car?
I was walking home from my friend's house and I just saw it on the street.
They have a for sale sign?
Yes.
How much were they asking for the car?
$700.
So you paid $400?
Yes.
Who drove the car to where it was ultimately parked?
We pushed it because it didn't run.
How far did you have to push it?
Like 6 or 7 blocks.
Did you ever move the car?
Oh, yeah, and we pushed it to the mechanic. Because she said all it needed was a tune-up, so we pushed it because it was right by his house.
Did you get it tuned up?
Yes.
How much did that cost you?
$55.
And then what happened with the car?
Still didn't run because we took it and we got we got it checked and stuff, and it said that one of the cylinders was bad, so.
What'd your mother say when she found out you bought this car?
She was real mad. And then she put me on punishment.
Where'd you get this $400 from? Did you work for the money?
I went to work in the summer with my dad.
So, you sold him a car.
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No, I didn't.
Doesn't look 18 to me.
He knew about the car. He phoned 3 times on the car. He came by inquiring about the car twice. I asked him if the first night he came by if he wanted to drive it or if he wanted to leave me a deposit, and I would be more than happy to take the for sale signs off of it. He said no, he didn't have his wallet with him. So I figured he didn't want to drive it because he didn't have his license with him, and that was fine. I showed him the car in and out. I started it up for him and everything, and he didn't have a problem with it. He said it was perfect. He'd be back the next day to please not sell it.
How come I asked you if he doesn't look 18 and you give me this whole long story? Doesn't look 18 to me. Now, you may not know this, but I'm going to tell you now. You cannot enter into a contract with a minor because they're not always so clever. So that's why we have laws that protect minors from entering into contracts. So you have to give him his money back.
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vera Schramm is suing Marcy Blankenship because she sold her 15-year-old son Toby a car that doesn't run. Marcy claims she didn't know Toby was a minor.
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk. Anybody who has half an eye can see that this young man is not the age of majority. You took advantage of him. I believe that you took advantage of him. And you can't do that. So you owe him $400. Sir, you paid $55 to have the car tuned up?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have to eat that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's form of punishment. I'm sure your mother has something else planned for you if she hasn't already conjured up the appropriate punishment, including, at 15 years old, would seem to me, requiring somebody else to sign off if he wants to go take money out of the bank.
Absolutely. That's a lesson to be learned.
Mm-hmm. Sure is. Mm-hmm. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. You did return the car?
Not yet.
Do it. She's got to get the car. He's got to get his money back, at least part of it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back there to your right. Your Honor, this is case number 311 on the calendar in the matter of Toth Paul versus Kay Francis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Toth Paul, I've read your complaint, and I am most sympathetic because, as an old family court judge, this is not the first time that I've seen a failed adoption. According to your papers, you and your husband wish to adopt a child, and you were put in touch with the defendants, who, for reasons which I'm sure they will tell me, were prepared to relinquish the baby that the defendant was carrying to you, and you agreed to pay certain of her expenses for the last trimester of her pregnancy. So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that correct? You did, in fact, make those payments. They were $1,500 a month to cover your expenses, medical bills, rent, whatever, during the course of the last trimester. And then the baby was born, a little girl, I believe, correct?
Right.
So you want to tell me what happened?
Well, we had entered into an adoption plan, as you've said. She was born. We were present at the birth. I was present at the birth with my mother. I assisted in the birth. And
in the delivery room?
In the delivery room, yes. The next day, we came back to pick up the baby to take her home. We met with the social workers, and they agreed to sign a placement agreement, which they signed. We took the baby home, and we had her in our home for 7 weeks. We have 2 children of our own. We're very grateful that we have them. We feel very fortunate.
How old are they?
9 and 7. We bonded with the baby for 7 weeks.
Had you been trying to have a third child?
No. 5 years ago, I had uterine cancer and a hysterectomy, so I'm no longer able to have any more children. But we wanted to open our home up again to another child. He had always wanted to have more children, and this was just something we wanted to do, and which is why we chose adoption. We originally got involved in a surrogate program, but just got discouraged due to the success rate, and also because I had a lot of chemotherapy, and we didn't know the effect of the medication on my body, so we decided to adopt instead. And we, anyway, we had her for 7 weeks, and then they took her back. They took our baby back. I have photographs to show you. We bonded with her, we had her, and we were very devastated.
When did you know that there was difficulty?
We didn't know until she was born August 11th. We didn't know until mid-September.
What happened in mid-September?
We had a call from our attorney handling the adoption that apparently Debbie had sent them a letter stating that she was interested in possibly getting the baby back, but didn't say in so many words that she wanted the baby back. Basically beat around the bush. And he told us about this letter. We have never seen a copy of the letter. That was mid-September, and on September 30th, the morning of September 30th, I needed to bring her back.
How did that come about?
Well, there was a lot of talk for the tail end of the last 2 weeks of September. Phone conversations I was having between the social worker who was handling our case, phone conversations between myself and the attorney. She never really came out and told anybody she wanted the baby back. She never called me until the end of September, the 29th of September. was when I received a personal call from the birth mother stating that she wanted her back. And she said to me that she would like to meet me at a location, and she was going to call the attorney's office and let them know, make them aware of the fact that this is what was going to be happening. I was completely devastated. I was breaking down on the telephone. This wasn't, I mean, we had bonded with this baby. We had grown to love her. Our children had grown to love her. It wasn't as if she changed her mind, you know, the day that she was born. This baby was becoming attached to us. She was developing a personality. We were bonding with her.
There were some legal documents that had to be signed after the placement agreement, because that's what usually happens.
Right.
And that's what we call a surrender document. You're familiar with that?
The only papers they told me that I needed to sign if I wanted to was to waive my rights for the 90 days.
That's what I'm talking about. And you did not sign those.
Right.
Am I correct?
Is this the waiver? You're talking about the waiver?
I'm talking about the waiver.
Right. No, I never signed those.
But you were asked to sign the waiver.
I was asked to sign those many times.
Many times. Well, we'll get to that in a moment.
She had also agreed to sign it in the hospital.
Are you two married?
No.
Your Honor.
But you live together?
Right.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you been living together?
5 years.
Yeah.
We have a 4-year-old together.
And how many other children do you have?
We have 4, besides the baby. We have 5.
And what made you decide that you thought it was in the child's best interest, since I assumed that that was your motivation, to place this child for adoption?
Neither one of us was working at the time, Your Honor.
We were just having a really bad time, and we neither one had a job, and
We just thought it would be the best for the baby.
because we couldn't provide really well for our own children and this one, and it was just very, you know, hard.
It was
a very
difficult
hard
decision.
decision. It wasn't something that was easy. It was heartbreaking. It was very hard.
I'm sure it was. But you decided to do it.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
2 days after the baby was born, we received a call from our attorney's office stating that they wanted $720 in lieu of an epidural so they could take their other children to Disneyland.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Heartbroken parents, Jennifer and Peter Tothpaul, are suing Debbie Kay, the birth mother of the baby they adopted. The Tothpauls say 7 weeks after they took the newborn home, Debbie and her boyfriend Phil changed their minds and demanded their child back. They're suing to recoup adoption costs.
So let's get to the reason you changed your mind and when you did.
There was just many reasons. There was many reasons because, well, one reason is because I wanted her. You know, it was devastating for me to give her up. You know, when your baby's born, you cry because you're happy. I cried because I was just
I cried because I had to give her
heartbroken.
away.
Right, and it was very hard. And
when, for the first time, did you make the decision that you were going to ask for her back?
It was about a month later. I had...
When? She was born in?
August.
August? And when did you decide to ask, when in your mind did you say, I'm going to ask for her back?
I can't tell you an exact date. I mean, I was going through so much, you know, it's just, in September. I had talked to the agency weeks before, and they never told them anything.
That's
you know,
because
I kept
you told
calling.
them not to tell us.
I did not tell
No,
them.
no, don't talk to each other.
I had talked to the social worker.
Did you have misgivings right after the baby was born in August about whether you were going to go through with this adoption?
No.
Was it a week later? Was it 2 weeks later?
It was about, I don't know, 4 weeks later. There was a lot of things that led up to it, you know, is that we had to go through so many things.
Like what?
Like, we sent all our kids away because we kept it a secret. And that was very, very emotional because I kept hidden. I didn't tell very many people. And just different things. It was just really hard. And they had told us things that, like, he wasn't even present for the birth. And I felt like, you know, she wasn't as important as their own children.
That's not the reason, Debbie, that you changed your mind.
No, that's not the only reason. It was just different things. I was just unsure about what was going on, and I felt when I talked to everybody at the agencies and the lawyers and everything, they made me feel like I was, you know, less important, or I just felt less significant, you know, and it wasn't as important for them to send me the papers. They made me feel like I was selling her, and that wasn't my intentions at all.
When for the first time were you asked to sign the waiver? In the hospital?
Yes.
And you decided not to sign the waiver in the hospital. Can you tell me why? He did.
No, there was something was said like we were going to go out a couple weeks later for lunch or something and sign this paper, this waiver.
You mean you weren't asked to sign the waiver in the hospital?
Yeah, we were.
Sure you were.
Yeah, and we declined it then.
Right. My question to you is, why did you say no, sir, in the hospital?
In case she wanted to get the baby back, because I was fully supporting her in whatever she wanted to do.
So even in the hospital, you weren't sure that you were going to go through with this adoption. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not telling you that at all.
But what you just said to me suggests that that was true, because if at that moment of the child's birth you were totally committed to this adoption, then you would have signed the waiver at the time. Don't speak to him. I understand that you can have a change of heart. My point is, these people are suing for nothing else other than, at this point, $4,500, which is what they gave to you in support for the 3 months that they agreed to. I mean, they can't be compensated for their heartbreak. That doesn't necessarily make you the bad guys, because you're entitled to have a change of heart. That's what the law provides. But my question is, when was the point in time when you had this change of heart? If you were committed to the adoption without reservation, you would have signed the waiver in the hospital at the time that they took the baby home.
We couldn't. We had to do it after. We had to go to this in LA somewhere. That's what we were told.
Because he wasn't there to sign something.
He doesn't have to be there to sign. You have to be there to sign. The waiver is something you have to do.
But they told me I could not sign this in the hospital.
They asked you to do it immediately thereafter, and you put them off.
No, I was going to do it. I had told him I would. And you know that I told him I would.
You never did it. Did you go away on vacation?
I was going to go away, and I never was able to go.
But you told them you were going away on vacation.
Right.
Whether you went or not, you said you couldn't sign the papers. You'll sign them when you come home from vacation, correct?
Right.
So that's
They called me 3 days after the baby was born. They called me 3 days. I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want to deal with it. You know, it was...
Debbie, I'm not
I did not
faulting
tell
you
them.
for changing your mind, Debbie. I want you to understand that. The law builds that in. But if what you're telling me is 3 days after the baby was born, when the baby is already with the new parents, you're called and said, would you come in so we can sign the papers?
That's not what they didn't call me to say that. They just called me to tell me that he hadn't signed his part of the papers yet, and just to let me know what was going on. That was the only time I ever heard from anybody.
No, that's not true. You knew you had to sign the waiver. Come on, Debbie.
That's not what they said, but they weren't telling me to do it then.
You knew you had to sign the waiver, and you kept putting it off.
And we had 90 days to do it.
They didn't tell me I had to sign it.
I know you had 90 days to do it, sir. I mean, are we understanding each other?
Yeah, totally. I'm not disputing anything. I'm just saying...
You had 90 days. Of course you have 90 days to do it. The idea is, if you're committed to doing it,
right,
then you do it at the earliest possible time, right? And you two folks didn't do that because you had misgivings as to whether you were absolutely positive that you wanted to do it. Is that true?
No,
I don't
it's not.
believe you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, because otherwise you would have done it. And bottom line is, you did in fact say, I'm not signing the papers, I want the baby back. I'm not faulting you for wanting your baby back. I'm faulting you for taking their payments in September.
And you know,
I'm faulting you for that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what? She sent her sister to pick up the baby.
I had just started a brand new job. I couldn't just leave.
Talking about your daughter.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer and Peter Tothpaul are suing Debbie Kay, the birth mother of their adopted baby, after she demanded they return her child. The heartbroken Tothpauls are suing to recover the cost of the adoption.
You took the money in September, even though you had misgivings. That's not fair, because that also says to them everything is going the way it should be going. we can fall in love with this baby. That's not fair. And what I'm suggesting to you is, they're not the bad guys here. You're not bad either. But you didn't play it 100% straight with them. And it's a shame.
You know, when I talked to her, and I hadn't even made up my mind then, she was very, very mean. She says, I am not a babysitter, and I'm going to call Child Protection Services.
Well, for
And
once.
then, and I hadn't even said anything yet. I hadn't even said anything yet.
Sure,
and after she said, do you want to come to my house and see our home and everything? And I agreed. But that kept going through my mind. How could she be so mean? She's going to call the Child Protection Service on this baby. Well, she's hurting the baby. And then when we did change our mind, and they made it very, very hard for us to get the baby.
You would too. If the circumstances were different, Debbie, you would too.
No, no. She dropped her off. She didn't even tell me what kind of formula she was drinking. She dropped her off in just a diaper and a T-shirt, which, you know what? I didn't even know what kind of formula she was drinking.
Why didn't you ask?
She wasn't there.
Just why didn't you ask the social worker?
The social worker wasn't there either. The social worker was on vacation. The lawyer was the one that was giving us a hard time. He wouldn't even let the father pick her up. He's the one that told us they were going to call child. You know, they made us feel like we were evil, you know, and it was
In
nothing.
their minds, Debbie, you were evil. First, they hear that you're unable to take care of this infant because you have too many other kids that have to be taken care of. You have no jobs. You have no way of supporting this baby. And so that two people, the two of you, who look like two able-bodied people, had to accept $4,500, $1,500 a month to pay your rent and your food and whatever other expenses you had just to keep you for the last trimester of this baby's birth. And then, after 7 weeks, you say, well, now I want her back. Were you both working? Were you both working at the time you got her back?
I had just started working. Just started working.
When you got her back. So who was going to take care of the baby?
I had a babysitter.
You know what? She sent her sister to pick up the baby.
That's right, because I just started working. I had just started a brand new job. I couldn't just leave.
Talking about your daughter.
And we'd already agreed on this the night before. And she knew the whole situation.
She doesn't know the whole situation, Debbie. You just
no. I told her that
you're not being fair. You can't say that these folks did anything wrong.
I didn't say they were doing anything wrong.
Okay.
Can I mention something else?
Sure.
In lieu of receiving an epidural in the hospital, they wanted money in exchange for that.
But I didn't come up with that.
Please.
Don't speak.
They wanted money in exchange for that. That didn't come from us. We wouldn't make such a suggestion. I told her I wanted her to be comfortable, and we would talk about that after the fact. 2 days after the baby was born, we received a call from our attorney's office stating that they wanted $720 in lieu of an epidural so they could take their other children to Disneyland in San Diego.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know you're heartbroken. Fortunately for you, you can be heartbroken and look at your two kids when you go home.
Right.
You know that.
I'm very grateful for my children. I'm very fortunate.
I'm sure you know other people who have been through the adoption process and the adoptions have failed that don't have the two gifts that you do at home to go home and look at. It doesn't make it any easier. Tough lesson, but you understand how hurt they are. All right, the issue is not a difficult one, especially since I believe that you understand it is your moral responsibility to return this money. You had an agreement with the plaintiffs that that they would, in fact, take care of you for 3 months of your pregnancy, and you would allow them to adopt your baby. You did not allow them to adopt your baby, and therefore, they're entitled to their money back. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge